All right, we'll get the meeting started. This is the Safety and Public Works Committee meeting, Brainerd City Hall, 7 p.m. We have 4 items on our agenda, the first of which is approve engineering services proposal, SEH, East River Road, sanitary intercept lining. And I'll turn it over to Public Works Director Mike Havagors.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attached to this item is a proposal from SEH to perform engineering services to assist the city in several tasks related to the East River Road sanitation sewer interceptor main. Currently, the city has a segment from Rotary Park to College Drive identified for a lining project in 2027. The proposal includes the initial to assist the city staff to perform investigation of the line to determine the appropriate priority level of the project. Information from that investigation, including previous work already completed, including camera investigation, would be utilized in an effort to apply for MPCA grant funding towards the project. To make the most effort of this grant application, staff is recommending applying for the funding for the entire segment of the Rotary Park to Laurel Street, rather than the shorter portion to College Drive. Dependent on the results of the grant solicitation, final plans for the lining rehabilitation would be complete. The total fee, the proposed fee, is estimated not to exceed $74,838 for the initial project. Per the proposal, should the MPCA grant award be received for the additional segment of lining of the College Drive to Laurel Street, SEH would require a contract amendment to include this additional scope. At this time, without a guarantee of funding, the scope of the work is based on the current planned project extending from Rotary Park to College Drive only. Staff is recommending the proposal from SEH only for this work due to the previous experience and performance on the adjacent segment of the sanitary main and the familiarity of the planned project. It is anticipated that there will be significant cost savings for the efficiencies utilizing SEH for this work. And also, if you have any specific questions, Paul from SEH is here to answer any questions for this.
All right, thank you, Mike. Are there any questions or comments?
I got a
Yeah.
question.
Councilman Chesak.
I don't know if I should ask Paul or Mike, but what was done was what you identified from College Drive to Rotary Park. That essentially goes down to the force main crossing the river, right? That stretch, that's College Drive down to there where Rotary Park is, right?
Yeah, Paul, do you want to?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff, and members of the Public Works Committee. Yes, that is correct. This project that we have scoped in our fee is for design and bidding services to construct the project in 2027. If the MPCA does award a grant to the city for the entire segment, that may be that the project gets moved to 2026, dependent on what their funding timeline is for the project. So we would.
So my question was, it goes from College Drive down to approximately
The main lift station, correct.
Okay,
To pump
so
it across the river.
this proposal then is from College Drive north up to Laurel Street?
No, this one is for that segment from College Drive to the main lift, the 27-inch interceptor.
So what's different about what you guys submitted to us? See, I'm totally confused. I thought this was additional to that. That's what I understood this to say. What we were doing tonight was going to add additional engineering consulting work for what's north of College Drive, because we've already done it from College Drive down to Rotary Park, have we not?
No, we have not.
Well, what did we get then last year, in February? What was from SEH? What was that?
Engineer Deans, looks like he's
Yeah.
ready with an answer.
Yes, sir, the I&I report. So we had 2 different reports that were prepared. One was the preliminary engineering report that was developed from the camera that we were able to do through a change order after the lining project that was done on the other segment that was lined. We had some additional money, so we had that camera and a report done. So that was kind of the preliminary, maybe 30% report, I guess you'd consider this. So this is kind of building on that.
Okay,
So that's not related to this.
So when this came up last year, we looked at, and I argued that we should do it sooner than later, and the council agreed to move forward with this, hopefully in 2027. So now we're here tonight to say we need more engineering services on something we just did I&I on, so that's where I'm confused now. Based on that, is that this $67,000 included in the additional cost of approximately 25%, which raised us from like 1 million up to 1.3 in 2027? Was this 67 included in that additional cost? When we came up with that estimate of what it's gonna go up by 25%?
I'm sorry, could you read?
So this, I'm confused. This proposal is 74,000. Is that,
Okay.
you said 66. I
Yeah,
think
I'm
you're referring
sorry.
to the 74. Does
Okay,
that
so
help?
74,000. We're looking at, okay, so last year, we talked about this, and it was SEH did the I&I study.
Yes, sir.
And my take on that was like, we need to do this sooner than later. We had long discussions about this. We talked about putting it off to 2027. The price is gonna go up 25% to 1.3 million. My question is this number we're looking at tonight included in that additional cost? Was that figured in?
That was just a very preliminary estimate. So the number we had, we took from let's take that 30% report from that camera. We took that, we applied some inflationary factors and estimated what the engineering cost would be. This is a much more firmer engineering cost.
Well, what was your estimate for that then?
I'd have to pull it up. I don't
Okay,
have it right in front of me.
That's not relevant. I want to get this done, so I'm just trying to figure out how we get to this point. I'm not against doing this, I just didn't, this is new information. See, when I asked, are we going north of College Drive? Because that's all got to be done too eventually, right? North of College Drive up to Laurel? Because that was talked about in the I&I study.
And I believe that's where it talks about that potential grant, that if that's awarded, then we'd extend it up to.
Is that correct, Paul?
Yes, that's correct. So
Okay.
our scope of services is only for final design. So taking the report that we prepared for the city back last year, delivered that to the city, that was like a 30% design. We cameraed the line, we saw what the defects were, there's a lot of root intrusion and things. So then we were able to generate that cost estimate that's in the report. From that point, we'll go into final design, plans, specs, and then take you through a bidding process.
Okay.
If that funding does come through, the solicitation comes out sometime this month. Historically, it comes out in June. And if the city is successful in getting a grant for the entire segment from the lift station up to Laurel Street, we would ask that the city amend our fee to include the design of the segment from College to Laurel at that time.
And that's why I'm asking these questions, because now I understand it. I'm reading that memo, and maybe I went through it too fast, but I appreciate your
Yep, no problem.
clarification.
All good questions. So, any other questions or comments? If not, maybe looking for a motion to proceed.
One quick question. Are we gonna have an ask for a dollar amount of the grant, or is it just whatever they can give us?
The solicitation is not out yet. Historically, those grants have been capped right around 750,000, and I believe they're a 50-50 split. I think the last time, if I remember correctly from one of our staff that looked into this, there was $4 million statewide. I think our project is set up very well, that it'll be very competitive. It's a very critical line for the city, and it's next to a very critical body of water where I&I could have a significant impact on the Mississippi River. So there's certainly, I think, we're in a good spot to be able to apply for that at a very reasonable cost and get that application submitted.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Paul. So the motion recommended by staff is to recommend approval of the proposal from SEH in the amount of $74,838.
So moved. Second.
All right, motion is second. All those, any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, our next item, approve costs associated with Good Point Technology Pavement Management. And again, Public Works Director Mike Habagor.
Attached, thank you, Mr. Chair. Attached to this proposal from Good Point Technology is to provide pavement management services for the entire city of Brainerd and street network system. A little bit of history. Back in 2023, Good Point submitted a proposal including the evaluation of our city streets, as well as a startup fee and software licensing totaling nearly $30,000 for the street pavement condition rating only. Since that time, Good Point wants our business and has performed pavement scanning for the city street network and inputted that data into their software. With this evaluation already complete, this provides a significant cost savings to the city, as this was the majority of the initial cost of the pavement management system. At this point, if the city would like to use the services, the cost would be $5,995. The cost includes $4,000 for setup and to update the inventory and scanning. The remaining $1,995 is for the annual software licensing cost, a yearly annual cost. The software would put the pavement performance curve on the software system that would show conditions and deterioration rate of the streets for future years. This would be a huge benefit to help us with determining our 10-year construction plan and planning accordingly with BPU with our utility improvements. Currently, we are using interns approximately every 3 years when we can have those appropriate interns to evaluate our streets. Or we could use a software system for about every 5 years. Just imagine the interns again, tape and clipboard in hand, walking the streets and measuring the cracks and so forth. We have 80-plus miles of streets in Brainerd. With interns, the performance and accuracy may become less after each mile. The software system will get accurate results for each mile. Good Point would like the city of Brainerd to use their service. This initial service will cost the city of Brainerd only $5,995. Next year, in 2026, each year we would pay the $1,995 for the annual software license. For future services in street scanning, the cost would be approximately about $20,000. The street scanning would be a capital improvement project and would be put into our budget cycle every year. Staff is recommending that we approve this Good Point technology for the amount of $5,995. And with that, we can take any questions.
All right, thank you, Mike. Any comments, questions on this item?
I have a question.
Councilman Yeager had his hand up.
Yeah, just real quickly, I'm not familiar with this software, but the question that I have is once we pay for the software, we get the scans, do we own those scans in perpetuity, or do we have to continue the licensure with this company to get access to the scans that we've done previously?
That's a good question. I'm going to refer to Jesse specifically for that.
The data we can pull off. The one trouble that we do have is they're all rated based on a formula for deterioration. What you'll find is a lot of our streets don't deteriorate at the exact same rate. So that's why, as Mike kind of referenced, having it rescanned about every 5 years just essentially resets the system to make sure that we're accurately reflecting what the condition is about every 5 years.
Thank you. But just in summary, it'd be fair to say that this would be a long-term relationship to use their software, to be continually updating the scans, continually inputting the new information, right? It's not something we're going to do for a couple of years and then we have the information and then we're on our way.
It can be a short term. You could always change software vendors if you wanted to, but there's always that capital expenditure. If you were to go back to the December 2023 RFP, Good Point was the most economical option at that time as well.
Right, and that was really the impetus of my question, is if we have the information from the first company, can we apply that? Do we own it? And then if we change software, is it applicable, or are we starting over again, I guess is my question. There's no guarantee on whether or not that data would be software to software usable. That was my concern. Thank you, that's all.
Councilman Cheswick, comment?
Yeah, did they scan anything other than streets?
To my knowledge, they just did the streets.
Okay, and then if we wanted anything else, because I know there's manholes, sidewalks, curb, all that stuff, we'll just have to pay them more money to do those scans, right?
Yes, sir.
How
To
many
my
miles of our 80 miles of streets did they scan?
All 80. Maybe the ones that were under construction when they were going through with the scanner, they may not have. But to my knowledge, they went through all 80.
Okay.
And you may have said, but what's the term of this contractor agreement? Is this an annual thing or is this for the 5 years?
It's just an annual license fee, and we would recommend that we keep this for an extended period of time because we are used to this system, we're used to the software. It has good management and Good Point is a great company here in Minnesota.
I like where the proposal came back as opposed to the first time, and I think as you've had a chance to talk with staff prior to this, there's a lot of benefits of doing this, the consistency, the regularity, and it kind of gets it out of the realm of the intern and into the, more officially into the staff's hands, so I think, so. Other comments?
Just real quickly, so I just want to be clear, the staff is asking for us to allow us to purchase this for just this year, or is this something you're going to be coming back every year saying we need, or are you asking us to just allow you to do this in perpetuity until otherwise?
Right, and it would, forever, in the sense
Okay.
that we
So
would,
it's
in
not
our
coming back.
capital
Okay.
plan, we would be putting this in our capital plan every year, or every 3 years to get this done. It'd be a continual maintenance thing for our roads.
Very good.
One quick, I got to give the Good Point a hats off for their persistence. And also, I think because we didn't agree to it in '23 or last year, I think it looks like a savings of about $24,000. So perhaps holding off is beneficial. That's all I got. I move to approve the staff's recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All right, motion and second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign, motion carried. All right, our third item, an ordinance prohibiting the feeding of stray and wild animals. And Community Development Director Kramvik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff recently received a complaint in Northeast Brainerd regarding a neighboring property feeding stray animals. The individual that made the complaint stated that the stray animals are creating a significant nuisance and damaging their property. In addition, staff have also received complaints in the past concerning the feeding of wildlife and attracting nuisance animals in and around their properties, such as skunks, turkeys, those type of animals. After hearing feedback from City Council at the last meeting, staff drafted a proposal that prohibits outdoor feeding. The ordinance would make exceptions. One of them would be for above-ground bird feeders. It would also allow outdoor feeding with a proper enclosure, essentially a dog kennel, coop or run, and would make exceptions for agricultural uses and government agencies such as the DNR. Natural fruit trees and shrubs would also not be considered feeding. All other outdoor feeding would be prohibited as proposed in the ordinance, and really staff looked at this as the only way to enforce the ordinance. I know council had concerns of how you'd potentially enforce this. So with that, staff has given 3 options to council. Direct staff to bring the proposed ordinance to the next city council meeting for the first reading. Direct staff to amend the proposed ordinance to apply to only wild animals. Or option 3, direct staff not to proceed with the proposed ordinance. And I can answer any questions.
Right, thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Any questions or comments for staff or? I guess I would just say that there was a lot of discussion at council when this first came up, concerns over enforcement. I share that concern, and I'm not sure I would support. It's a very well-written ordinance, but I don't know that it suits the needs of the city or is necessary. But I do think, this is a good example of staff and council being responsive to the community. So as James said, this was something that was brought to staff as a complaint and a concern, and the staff went forward, brought it to council, and council had said to, proceed, do your due diligence, draft an ordinance for our consideration. But those are my thoughts. I guess I'd be open to hearing other thoughts or comments or entertaining a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I would be in favor of moving forward with this draft language, and the reason why is because without this, there is no way to enforce any of these things that are going on. With this, there is the potential to enforce. So it's kind of like when we have this as a tool, there's a possibility of being able to say to the people or person that is feeding the animals, it's not allowed. Right now, we can't do that. So if Kevin has anything to say, I'd move to have this, if you have
Any other comments or questions?
I have nothing to add.
Okay,
no.
and entertain a
Yeah, I'll
motion.
move to approve the, going forward with the draft language coming back with the,
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Just on the draft language, correct?
Yep.
Yep, second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll
and
just
and
add,
that includes the wild and domestic, just so James.
so options 1 and 2, direct staff to bring the proposed ordinance to the next city council meeting for the first reading and to direct staff to amend the proposal to apply to wild animals.
Well, it's wild and
So it'd
domestic.
really just be the first option, as proposed. The proposed ordinance includes both stray and wild animals.
Seconder was clear on that?
Yep,
Yeah.
Okay.
sorry.
All right, motion and a second. I'm going to vote no, previous comments, so. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Those opposed, same sign, aye. And motion carries. That brings us to our last item. Item number 4, approval of Buffalo Hills Lions Park name change.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Lions Club has invested much time and funds into the Buffalo Hills Lions Park and is requesting a name change to Lions Park. The Lions Club presented this name change to the Park Board on May 27th, and the motion was approved. The Lions Club will fund the new sign if this motion is approved of. Out of respect and courtesy, the Lions Club is here today to address the council. And as they're walking forth, I just want to say that this group has been a pleasure to work with and a very strong force in the city of Brainerd, and we just are privileged to have them. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. Could you just say your name and
Certainly.
for the audience?
My name is David Call, and I'm with the Brainerd Lions. Been active with the Lions for 31 years, so it's been a long run. And we recently came on this. We've been working with the city on Lions Buffalo Hills Park. We'd like to clarify it just to be Lions Park. And I want to stress that that's not Brainerd Lions Park, it's Lions Park. So we're reaching out to the other Lions clubs in our community, from Nisswa to Garrison to Pillager, and you know, hoping that we can gather support from those people as well. We're working on getting letters of support. So at this point, we're in the process of working with staff to come up with a master plan for the park that would show adaptive playground equipment, or all-inclusive. Some people prefer. There's pictures on the screen. There's a PowerPoint. This is equipment that's specifically made to deal with folks that are challenged physically. So there are swings and a rocking platform that they can be on. Some of the swings have special harnesses for children that have special equipment or something. Others of the swings are adapted so that you can put a wheelchair on it. We recognize that there would also then need to be paths to the playground equipment because it's very difficult to push a wheelchair over gravel and grass and so forth. As of today, the city had provided in the budget $90,000 for equipment at this park. The Brainerd Lions have added another $80,000 to that pot, and we're in the process of soliciting grants and so forth to make this dream a reality, if you will. We'd also like to see 6 or 8 pickleball courts out there, some walking trails, and what I'm asking for tonight, I guess, in addition to getting the name changed, we would like to have staff directed to work with us to draft a letter of fiduciary support so that as we get grants, the city would hold those funds. That's a necessity for a lot of grantors, that they want to have somebody else hold the money and not me personally. And then also to direct staff to work with us to get a letter of support from the city. We're also, like I said, getting letters of support from other community organizations as well as other Lions clubs. So, any questions? I could go on for a long time.
Thanks, Dave. Any questions or comments for Dave or of staff?
I have staff question.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
I got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Did the park board give a recommendation to us?
Yes, they approved it on the May 27th meeting. and the motion was approved.
Okay, that's all, I didn't catch that.
Thank you.
Councilman Yeager has a question.
Yeah, very good. That was actually my question, but I just did want to make one overarching comment on this, and I spoke a little bit about this at the meeting at Buffalo. It's much easier to get these parks, to get new equipment into these parks than it is to maintain it. So I just want to reiterate to our participants and our partners at the Lions that as this begins to mature in fiduciary responsibilities, I'm going to be looking to see a long-term contractual obligation by the Lions on the long-term maintenance of this, not just getting it built and putting it in our park system, but something on paper, long-term, that helps us share the long-term maintenance of getting these built. It's great to have them. But I'd like to see us have those same partners as eager to maintain them as they are to get them built. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Thank you, yes.
To
Councilman Cheswick.
Mr. Yeager's point, I believe the city has already established that if there's a donation of sorts, that we will not be responsible for replacement of any kind of amenity? Does somebody know the answer to that? For parks?
I'm not aware of anything of that nature, but I can speak that the Lions Club has already donated $10,000 from our last meeting to the city of Las Vegas for a specific line item for replacement of that equipment. And that is just to show their strength to move forward with this type of proposal.
Well, I was just asking the question as far as if that's something that anybody here, I thought Mayor Bedeau might know, if that's something the city council has either established through the park board determining that or not. I have vague memories of that happening where if somebody donates a bench, we're not going to be responsible for replacing that bench. I think it's made known to the person or organization that's donating such a facility. So maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, that kind of goes to your point.
Mayor, do you want to?
Yeah, Jeff, Jeff, to follow up on that, that is the general policy of the park board. I don't know if there's any in-stone language on it, but their general philosophy right now is that if something is donated, it is for the useful life of that item. You mentioned benches, that has specifically been called out. So memorial benches are fantastic, but they do have a lifespan, and we can't just be replacing them at the city's cost at all times. So, so just generally, yes, that is the policy of the park board.
Thank you.
Great, you got time for one more comment or question? If there are none, the only comment I have, and I mean, this is an incredible investment, and thanks for being here for sharing this and having this vision for the park there and the investment in Brainerd. I'll certainly going to support the motion, but my only hesitancy is I hate to see the name Buffalo Hills go away. I mean, that kind of defines that neighborhood, and it's really tied to the geographic feature of Buffalo Creek. And so my only hesitancy is to see that go away in the name. Yeah, feel free. We got about 2 minutes, a minute and a half.
Mark Cross, and I'm a Brainerd Lions member. And I joined the Lions back in '92. And the Lions Park was one of our projects back from '92. And in my mind, and I think in the mind of a lot of the members of the Brainerd Lions Club, it was Lions Park. We participated in putting up the shelter. There's a Lions logo there. I think we'd be very happy if it were Lions Park in Buffalo Hills or something. We could adjust the name to meet that geographic
Thank you.
response.
I appreciate that.
And we appreciate being here. And thank you.
Thanks, Mark. With that,
I move to approve the request of changing the name.
Second.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Of course, motion passes, and that ends our committee meeting.
All right, we'll call to order Brainerd City Council. It's Monday, June 16th, 2025, 7:30 PM in council chambers. Tony, please call the roll.
Chezak.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Stunek. Yeager.
On, yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Bevins.
Here.
O'Day.
Here.
Bedell.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Moving on, we have approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second, Johnson.
Motion by Chesak, second by Johnson. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. We have an agenda. Next, we have the consent calendar. This is a notice of public that all matters listed are considered routine by the council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the council votes on the motion to be adopted by roll call.
Move approval, Johnson.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. Any discussion? Seeing none. Tony, please call the roll.
Chesak.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Bevins. O'Day.
Yes. That passes. Next, we have the public forum. This is time allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the council. Time limits may be imposed. So we'll try to keep it to 3 minutes or less to anybody who wants to come up. I know a lot of you are probably here for St. Francis. That will come up later, and there will be a public forum specifically for those items. So if you're here for that, just hold off for now. But if you're here for anything else, please come forward and address the council. And if you're online, please press *3 if you'd like to address the council. Did Eric press the button? Looks like no. All right, I'll ask one more time. If you're here to address the council, please come forward. If not, we will now close the public forum. It is 7:32. Moving on, next we have council committee reports. First up, we have Personnel and Finance Committee Chairman Gabe Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 5 items on the agenda tonight, the first of which is to enter into a school resource officer services agreement with the school district. And the motion is to authorize staff to enter into the proposed school resource officer services agreement with ISD 181, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. Johnson?
Pretty much the same agreement we had last time. The cost has gone up a little bit to match the increase in pay our employees have had. And then we added a couple paragraphs that are mandated by state law to discuss what uniforms they'll wear and give public notification that they'll be there. But otherwise, it's pretty much the same thing we've had.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next up is hiring of a laborer, and the motion is to ratify the hiring of Kyle Glass for the laborer position effective June 23rd and place him at step 4 of the laborer wage grid, $28.21 per hour, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. More discussion,
Yeah, just
Johnson?
some justification on the step 4. He's coming from a job where he's been in a similar position for years and actually currently makes more at his current job. So he's taking a slight pay cut to come work here because we're such a desirable place to work.
Sounds like it. All right, any more discussion?
President O'Day,
Yeah, Mr. Chesak.
just for clarification, can you give the department they'll be working in?
The Public Utility
Okay,
Department.
thank you.
All right, any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson?
Okay, next up is a reclassification, and the motion is to reclassify David Nelson to the meter tech locator position effective June 17th. Further, that he be placed on step 6 of the meter tech locator wage grid. Further, to authorize staff to complete an internal job posting process to fill the water service worker position, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. Johnson?
This gentleman is currently a water service worker. He applied for and is qualified for this position. We offered it to him. Per our employee policy manual, he will place him on step 6.
Thank you. More discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson?
Thank you. Next up is a custodial services contract, and the motion is to approve the custodial services contract with North Country Janitorial Services, and I so move.
Second. Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. More discussion, Johnson?
We received one proposal, so while we're a fun place to work, we're not a very fun place to clean up after, apparently.
Got it. More discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Okay, next up is a clarification regarding roles and responsibility of the Council and Public Utility Commission. This is related to the motion we had on hiring a public utility director at the last meeting. And it's summarized well in the packet, but I just want to let you know we will handle this at the next meeting of any questions anybody has as a public utility commissioner or a city council member who thinks there's questions we need to resolve before we hire a new public utilities director. We will handle those at the next council meeting, and then we will move forward with the hiring process. So I just want to say if any public utility commissioner, and I hope Tony, somebody let them know, or any city councilman has any questions that need to be resolved before we formally post this job, get them to City Administrator Broyles by June 23rd, and we'll address them at the next council meeting.
Excellent. So no motion on this one?
Nope, just an FYI.
Okay. Thank you.
End of report.
End of report. Thank you, Chairman Johnson. Moving on to Safety and Public Works Committee Chairman Tad Erickson.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. We have 4 items on our agenda tonight, the first of which is to approve engineering services proposal, SEH, for East River Road Sanitary Interceptor lining. Motion coming out of committee is to approve the proposal from SEH in the amount of $74,838, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak, was it?
Yep.
Correct.
Erickson?
Yeah, just a little additional context. So the attached proposal is for SEH to perform engineering services to assist the city in several tasks relating to the East River Road Sanitary Sewer Intercept Main. This is connected to the force main that, of course, went underneath the river that we previously corrected. And then there's a grant that we're applying for that would go from College Drive up to Laurel. This segment is just from Rotary Park up to College Drive. If they're successful in the proposed grant, it would require a contract amendment. But for this proposal, just considering from College Drive to Rotary Park.
Thank you. And how far into Rotary Park? Does that go all the way to
The
crossing?
lift, yeah, to the lift station.
Okay. Thank you. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. That motion passes. Chairman Erickson.
All right, the second item is to approve proposed costs for Good Point Technology pavement management software. A motion coming out of committee is to approve the proposed cost from Good Point Technology for pavement management services in the 2026 budget for the amount of $5,995, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. More discussion on that?
Yeah, just mention, staff had brought this to us, previously we're rating the pavement essentially throughout town, utilizing both staff and interns when we have that capacity. And we've previously received proposals from Good Point that were considerably higher. We held off on that, and now with the second proposal coming in now, considerably lower. A lot of the costs that were associated with a higher amount were for mapping, and they've done a lot of that. And so with this proposal, there would be an annual service fee of $1,995 going forward, but the initial year would be $5,995. Again, considerably lower than their initial proposal, and this kind of gets it out of the realm of having interns do this pavement management, gets it into staff's hands, and it also gives them a tool to consistently rate the pavement year over year. So providing consistency and it gets it into higher quality work by staff.
Thank you. I'll say this is the third time, I think, in the last few years that we've voted on this. The first time was unanimously no. I might have been the only yes last time, but I'm here to say you guys were right. You saved us some $25,000 just by waiting another year or two. So if we're going to go forward with this, which I'm going to support, I think the cost basically offsets when you consider paying an intern to do the same thing every 3 years, spending the entire summer grading pavement, where this is actually less objective and more accurate, so.
President
Johnson.
O'Day.
I'm still going to be a no. I mean, I'd rather buy $6,000 of material and fill potholes, you know?
Oh, we're gonna do that anyway.
Well, we're getting rid of $6,000 right here that could be spent on even more material. So I am not going to support buying more software. It's nice of Good Point to come in and give us a really low first-year estimate on the software costs and our needs, and good on them on their sales team for putting together the proposal. God bless them. I'd rather buy material to fill potholes.
Thank you. Mr. Chesak, did you have something?
I kind of appreciate what Mr. Johnson said, and I did say it in committee that their diligence and their insistence on getting us to accept this is remarkable. They didn't quit. As you didn't indicate, you were, I think, the lone vote on wanting to go forward with this as a capital cost in '23. And then last year, it wasn't necessarily voted on, it was just removed from our capital costs as our engineer had put it in there. And so we caught that and saved ourselves a little bit on our levy. But when I look at this, if this can accomplish, I guess, and kind of in contrary to what Mr. Johnson said, if this can accomplish what we're being told, it does make sense to do this. And I think, not to speak for you, President O'Day, but these were your same desires you expressed in '23 is what we're reading in our agenda request of why this is a good move for the city of Brainerd. It eliminates the inconsistency by human error, that type of thing. It's more scientific, I would say, is probably a way to put it. And the one thing I would like to find out, though, if we could get some information from staff, not before we go forward if the council does agree to, but find out what the additional costs are for the curbing and any kind of sewer and manhole scanning they can do to help us with that, just to see what that cost would be once, if this is approved tonight. So, but I am in favor of this.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Anyone else? I will say, in addition to that, I appreciate what you guys, your opinions on this, and I understand where everybody's coming from. But I do see in 5 to 10 years, the way that AI has changed. One of the difficult things that we do at the city is try to combine our utilities underground and our streets and try to come up with a 10-year plan. I think within 5 to 10 years, AI will probably be putting that together for us, and this is gonna be a big component of that. Don't be worried, Jesse, you're still gonna have a job.
Not the interns, they're out.
Interns might be out, some of them, but we can find other work for them to do, I'm sure. So,
You know, the benefit costs for AI are pretty low, too.
yeah? Benefit costs? Oh, yeah, you're right, that's true.
Health insurance.
They haven't made a union yet.
Time.
Anyone else? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. We do a voice vote. Tony?
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
No.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that passes. Chairman Erickson.
All right, our third item is consider an ordinance prohibiting the feeding of stray and wild animals. Motion coming out of committee is to direct staff to bring the proposed ordinance to the next city council meeting for the first reading, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. More discussion?
Yeah, I'll just mention too, this was, as staff mentioned at the last meeting, this was brought to staff's attention by a resident, and there was much discussion at city council, of course, for that. Continued that discussion in committee, concerns about enforcement, and I guess I'll just add that there was a split vote coming out of committee.
Thank you. More discussion? Mr. Bevins?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to vote against it. I almost think we're fixing something that's not broke. And we're going to give our police department way too much stuff to do. And another reason for people to call to complain about their neighbors when they could probably just go knock on their neighbor's door and say, what are you doing bringing bears into the neighborhood?
Yep.
I mean, what about the birds? We're gonna, you know, and there's all of that.
This one says bird feeding is okay, I believe.
I know it does.
Yep.
Tell the bear that keeps tearing down my bird feeders then.
Yeah. Well,
You live in northern Minnesota.
That would still be the
I'm
same.
just not looking to give our police department something to do.
thank you. Johnson?
I'm with Kelly in that I still don't support this ordinance, but I will be voting yes tonight. Oh, no, is this the first reading?
No, this is.
Oh, that would be the next, yes, I'll be voting no tonight to even bring it to a first reading that we'd have to vote yes for. I agree with everything Kelly said, and the bird exemption makes the whole ordinance obsolete. Because can you feed birds on the ground? If you can feed birds on the ground, you can feed feral cats on the ground too. We already have the ordinance mechanisms in place to remove the type of animals that we're writing this ordinance to protect us from. And I think we should just use the laws we have. So I'll vote no.
Thank you. Chesak?
I'm supporting this because I know a couple of individuals, actually don't live too far from Mr. Bevins and Mr. Yeager, and they are in a apartment complex of sorts that one of their neighbors would constantly feed the animals. And along the river, there's a lot of animals, and they couldn't do anything about it to speak of. The person they talked, and it was no getting through. Sometimes people are rational and understand, and I think this will just assist the city. I guess I would have a question. Would this be enforced by police, or would it be our code enforcement official, Mr. Kramvik?
It would typically be animal control.
Animal control, okay. So yeah, I mean, I just look at this as another tool that would aid whoever is doing that animal control, to say, here's a little bit more leverage they have to put a stop to any of this going on if it's really affecting people as there seems to be happening. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Erickson?
Yeah, I'm gonna vote no as well. I thought it was worth looking into having staff draft the ordinance, and I said this in committee, I'll say it here as well. I think it's a good example of city being responsive to residents' concerns. Like, as we said, this was brought to us by a resident, over, some isolated concerns. Staff brought it to council. We asked them to kind of look into different model ordinances, draft an ordinance. And so I think it was worth the exercise, but I'm gonna vote no, and no matter how it goes, I think we're being responsive.
Thank you, Chairman Erickson. I agree with everything you said. I think this is a solid ordinance if there's a need for it. I think we got to get out of the habit of forming ordinances based on one or two complaints. I think this is one we could file right next to the busking ordinance for when it does become an issue. It'll be there. We can use it, we can tweak it and make it fit whatever we need. But for right now, I don't think that it's necessary. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. So what does our ordinance say for the number of cats that you can have?
4.
It's 4, correct?
If they're your own cats, you're allowed to have 4.
Well, but okay, so if I'm feeding 40 cats in my garage, I have 40 cats. Whether or not I've licensed them or not, I've taken ownership over 40 cats. So I'd like to see us enforce our ordinance and say that if you're feeding 40 cats in your garage the whole winter, you are now the owner of 40 cats. And you can't have 40 cats. You can have 4 cats. So pick your favorite 4. Hopefully they're fluffy. But at some point, we should just enforce the ordinances that we have.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Chesak?
that ordinance itself is very difficult to enforce. The 4 animals, whether they're 2 dogs, 2 cats, or whatever. That's an extremely difficult ordinance to enforce. So, and I see what the mayor's saying, but I mean, I know there's many people right now that have more than they're allowed for pets or animals. So how do you enforce it? But anyway.
Thank you.
Yep.
So the motion we have is to move forward with this ordinance. That is what's on the table. So if you vote yes, that is moving forward. If you vote no, that is to put a stop to any moving forward on this. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against, same sign. Aye. That motion fails. Chairman Erickson.
All right, our fourth and final item is approval of Buffalo Hills Lions Park name change to Lions Park. And the motion coming out of committee, I gotta find it here. Motion coming out of committee was to take staff's recommendation, and approve the name change from Buffalo Hills Lions Park to Lions Park. And I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. Any more discussion on that?
I have a question.
Mr. Chesak, go ahead.
I think if it's possible, the representatives from Lions would like to just address us. If that's something else,
Yeah, we had the representative from,
I know we have a motion and all
we
that.
we do already have a motion.
Yeah.
If you guys want to fill in what you heard from the representatives from the Lions, that would probably work just fine.
Yeah,
Mr.
so
Erickson?
they're proposing to make significant investment into, and I'm gonna do a far worse job than Dave gave in his presentation, but they are proposing to make a significant investment into what's now called Buffalo Hills Lions Park in South Brainerd. And try to find the slide here where it talks about it. That's the word I was looking for, adaptive playground. And so they were, I think it was to the tune of $80,000.
41,
And
page 141.
I'm searching for it on my page here. I found it here. So we're, they're
If
planting
there's-
trees, rounding out stumps, putting $80,000 towards a new adaptive playground. It's their hope to collaborate with the city and City of Brainerd and the Pickleball Association to provide a park that encourages physical activity, health and wellness for all age groups. Their focus will be to develop paved parking for wheelchair and walking accessibility, adaptive playground complete with lion fountain, and a walking path that winds through the park. And I supported it in the committee, it was unanimous. I'll support it again. I did mention living in that area. I tell people I live Buffalo Hills neighborhood, and I've heard other people say that. So I kind of like the name Buffalo Hills, so I'm going to support it. I think it's the true character. There was some history and additional context that proves me wrong. But I think a lot of the neighbors in that area know it as Buffalo Hills, so I have a little hesitancy seeing it go away. But I think the trade-off is well worth it, so thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Erickson. If anybody on this side, these guys already got to ask questions. I'm fine with you guys if you want to ask questions of the
I'm
Lions.
supporting the motion, Mr. Chair.
As am I. Can we vote?
Excellent. Any more discussion? Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, so I'll give you just a quick rundown since we don't want to hear from the Lions, which I do want to hear from the Lions. I had some really good conversations with this group about the park. As the liaison to the park, we get a lot of people that come in and want to add things to our parks. And the problem with that, as Councilman Yeager has said, is that at some point then there's a useful life to it and we run into an issue where we have to pay for it in perpetuity. And so the conversations that we had on this is, what does it look like for maintenance? What does it look like for long-term stuff? Part of the conversation as well, and just in naming the park, there should be some kind of, I shouldn't say demand, but some kind of stipulation in there that there will be a continued conversation about what type of funding that looks like to try and keep the park up and nice. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think the park board fully supports it. It is going to cost a lot of money, and I have heard from this group very good things. And I know these individuals. I'm trying to see Nancy. There she is. I know Nancy. Some of these people are very good at fundraising. And so I have no doubt that they're going to be able to see this through to its fruition. But at the same time, there is a commitment from them in looking at it from the long term. The one thing I would suggest is I do also would like to echo the sentiment that it would be nice to continue the Buffalo Hills name on there. May I suggest just adding, as Mark Cross said, just at Buffalo Hills. So Lions Park at Buffalo Hills. We've done that in the past. Big Sev at Hitchwain Park. We have a history of it. But that falls to the council to make that decision, so.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. More discussion?
Yeah, was the Lions responsible for that lion waterhead that used to be over there by the water tower at 6th and Washington? Yes. Was? Okay.
Sounds like a yes.
And it will be put back into Lions Park.
With the roar, I was told.
Excellent.
And it's
Love
a
it.
splash park too.
There's
There you go.
All right.
Well, Being the motioner, I guess, with that suggestion, and both from the Lions and from the mayor, I guess I would amend the motion to change the name to Lions Park at Buffalo Hills.
Second.
Motion changed and seconded. Everybody okay with that? Okay. More discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. Motion passes. All right, Chairman Erickson,
End of report. Thank you.
thank you. Moving on to number 8, this is unfinished business. 8A is a call for applicants. First up, we have Mayor Bedell.
All right, the following boards and commissions have applications available, positions available. Charter Commission, 2 terms expiring 2025, 2 terms expiring 2026. Housing and Redevelopment Authority, 1 term expiring 2027. Library Board, 1 term expiring 2027. Public Utilities Commission, 1 term expiring 2028. And the Transportation Advisory Committee, 2 terms expiring 2025, 1 term expiring 2026.
And as council president, I have all of my terms, committees full, except 2 open terms for the Water Tower Committee.
It sounds like you don't have all your committees full.
Almost.
Accept.
Next, we're moving on to 8B. This is informational on the point-in-time data request. I believe this one is, the presenter is not listed, but I'll hand it over to Administrator Broyles.
Thank you, Mr. President. This, evidently, I missed the last council meeting, but Mr. Chesak had asked for a data request for point in time, some information from the county regarding the homelessness. This is really just informational. The information that the county provided is attached. I guess if there's questions for this, beyond this, Mr. Chesak, we'll be happy to entertain those, but do you have any questions? The information is attached, it's just information.
Anyone on council have questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Chesak?
Yeah, I just, I wanted to point out that this was a council action, so to say it was me, I'm a little bit surprised it was posted that way, but this was an agenda item we all voted on, so it's a council request. But that aside, there's a couple of items in this request that I'm a little, I guess, concerned about and I guess I've done a lot of data requests, reading over chapter 13, and my understanding is that a government entity is, if they have the data, they provide it, they don't direct you to where you can find it. And it looks like in 2 cases here, we did just the minutes, which I think in many respects, there were disbursements, so that's probably gonna show up on their consent calendar anyway. So unless somebody questioned it at the county board and they had a separate discussion, which I don't believe ever happened. So we do see the dollars that were included in there from January and February, March, and April. I would question is maybe at the time we asked for this, a disbursement for May may not have been done based on the timing of their approval of said disbursement, if there were any in May. The other item is the grant itself. I don't know what grant is being used, and they again directed us to go to this Department of Human Services website, which to say that request is too broad, I think maybe we should reword it so it's more specific if we could, to find out what grant is being used. And the other, so some of these, there's a lot of uncertainty that I think we should know what's going on. And that's why I asked that we have this on, added to the agenda and vote on it. I would entertain going back for an additional request. Maybe at this time, I don't have anything prepared to be more specific, but the county knows what grant they're using to provide the money to the organization. So that's what I'd like to find out, if the council be okay with moving forward a little further with this, to find out if there's any disbursements in May, because my understanding was the grant they did get was for a year-round operation. And if they hadn't got approval to do the year-round operation starting May 1st, they were getting money for that and starting in January. So, and that's why I think we, as a council member, trying to understand what's going on, I think it's important that we find out from the county where the money's coming from and who is it going to. I think we found that out. But, and when was that approved? What grant is that? and then we didn't get that. So that's where I'm at with it. I don't know how anybody else feels.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Yeah, I was a little disappointed with the amount of information that we ended up with after this request. It's a very short answer on some of these things. So however you want to move forward with this, if you want to take more time and come back with a different request in 2 weeks, or if you want to word it some way tonight that we might get a better answer, that's up to you. Looks like Mr. Johnson has comments too.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. First and foremost, I too was disappointed to see that it said Member Chesak requested information, because maybe Member Chesak made a motion, but in my recollection, it was a unanimous vote by the city council that this entire body made a data request to the county. Well, it was not one member. Any one member can do that, but we did it as a body. My one question is to Joe. Are all of these answers like legit answers to data requests, like legal answers, like we could give constituents asking us questions? Just saying, that's too vague, that's too broad, I don't know.
Yeah, Councilmember Johnson and we had some conversation back and forth with staff on this point. No, that simply stating, go here, go there is not sufficient. And there has been some back and forth with the county on some of that stuff, and we can certainly follow up some more to get that information. Redirecting to a state website, or even redirecting your own website and saying, here are all the minutes, go find them for yourself, it's not sufficient.
Thank you. I didn't think it was. I wanted to check with you. I'm in favor of Jeff. I think we should keep going forward on this and maybe work with Joe or something to correctly phrase what it is I thought we correctly phrased it, but how to make it so they can understand the question, I think is important. So I think we should keep moving on this to get the answers to our public data requests, which they're required by law to answer.
I agree. Maybe we just allow staff to continue to work with the staff over at the county, and maybe in 2 weeks we have a better answer. And if not, before then, we can formulate a better question or a better data request that is more clear.
President O'Day.
Yes, Mr. Chesak?
And actually, I believe it's 3 weeks till our next meeting, but regardless, I like that idea, just having our staff see what else they can get through their own devices. And then if it's, I guess at that time, if we could have that come back to us, and I'm sure we could inquire before the agenda goes out and maybe just have this as another agenda item on July 7th, I think it is our next meeting. So I'd be in favor of that. Do we need a motion? Our staff want a motion for that, or?
I don't think so. I think our staff are already working in that direction. So that's it for that one. We will move forward. Next, we have, is this 8? C. I think there's a few people here for this one tonight. There's a lot to this one. This is the public hearing adopting a resolution for the 9th Street Vacation final reading proposed ordinance 1584, rezoning St. Francis School and Church, as well as the final and preliminary plat and the conditional use permit for 411 10th Street North. First, I believe this is going to be James Kramvik, if you want to start us off.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. City staff received a petition from St. Francis Catholic Church for the vacation of North 9th Street from the intersections of Juniper Street to Ivy Street in North Brainerd. In addition, St. Francis submitted a request for a preliminary plat, final plat, rezoning of 14 existing parcels from TN1, Traditional Neighborhood 1 District, into 3 new parcels zoned PSP, Public Semi-Public District. The applicant also applied for conditional use permits to allow for residential use for a rectory in the PSP district and to create a parcel less than 1 acre in the PSP district. All of the land use requests are interconnected and cannot function individually unless all are approved, so staff included multiple contingencies within the recommended approvals. Purpose of these requests is for the expansion of the school, the construction of a new rectory, and potentially an expansion of the church in the future. A plan has been provided by the applicant and was included in the packet. In order for the vacation of North 9th Street, 2 interior homes must be demolished. St. Francis proposes a demolition of 3 homes for the construction of a rectory that will have access from Juniper Street. The demolition of homes in the TN1, TN2, CN1, and CN2 districts are currently prohibited by city code without replacement of the units or by conditional use permit approved by city council. Rezoning to an alternative district is also an option, which St. Francis has proposed as part of this request. In addition, future expansion projects to the school and church, if approved for the PSP district, will not require conditional use permits, but will be subject to the regulations of the zoning code and city code. Currently in the TN1 district, which is what they are zoned, conditional use permits are required for expansions of schools and churches. Staff did include both reasons for and against the proposed project as related to the comprehensive plan in the findings of fact. The Planning Commission considered the land use request, not the vacation itself, and held a public hearing at their meeting on May 21st and recommended approval by a 4-to-1 vote. And I'll have our city engineer discuss the vacation request.
Thank you, James and council. So as James presented at the May 19th meeting, the council was presented with a petition for the vacation of 9th Street, which is in connection with the request for the replatting and rezoning for the St. Francis proposed project. So included with your packet is a prepared memo that summarizes staff's review of the vacation requests, really from a street classification and use standpoint. As referenced in the agenda item, the memo includes staff's recommendation from an engineering standpoint, but council should weigh all the factors, including the findings that James has also included, such as land use and zoning factors as well. Ultimately, as staff is included in the agenda item, the statute states that it's council's responsibility to determine if the vacation of the street appears in the interest of the public to do so, not that a request for vacation should require a project, as there have been other right-of-way vacations that have not required the owner to undertake a project. However, vacating the street would allow for the owner the ability to complete a project that would not have been able to be completed without a vacation. So again, referencing back that it is the council to determine whether or not the vacating of the street would be in the public's interest. So staff has included all of the attachments in the packet to indicate St. Francis's intent and plans for their improvement projects for the school and rectory, to indicate to the council ahead of these requests. So at this time, staff is recommending the following. First, holding the public hearing on the street vacation to hear public testimony for and against the request, followed by holding the second and final reading of proposed ordinance 1584. Note that a vote to dispense with the actual reading must be unanimous. Next, staff is recommending discussion by the council regarding the request for the vacation, plat, and rezoning as a whole, in reference to the St. Francis request and project. After that discussion, then staff's recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution that vacates the segment of North 9th Street from Kingwood Street to Ivy Street, retaining the utility easements, and then James can run through the final three recommendations.
Yes, thank you, Jesse. So for the land use requests, recommended approval of their preliminary and final plat with the listed contingencies. Recommend approval of proposed ordinance 1584, the rezoning request to PSP district with the listed contingencies. And also recommend approval of the CUP request with the listed contingencies by staff. City Council can motion to approve the preliminary and final plat, ordinance for the rezoning to PSP, and the 2 conditional use permits in one motion with staff's listed contingencies for approval. If the motion is to deny, each request must be denied individually with reasons. Certainly, approvals can go one by one as well. And with that, staff can answer any questions.
Thank you, James and Jesse. Anybody have questions for staff? Nobody? If we don't have any questions for staff, Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, just because it was something that was brought to my attention just recently. On Ivy, we're shown on, it's on page 177. On Ivy, there's proposed diagonal parking.
On the north?
On the north. So is this proposed to be a part of the street, or is this proposed to be a part of the land users?
Jesse?
This could be a discussion between the council and the proposer. This could be part of the developer's agreement of who owns and operates it. With it being part of the right-of-way, ultimately it would be our responsibility because everything within the right-of-way is our responsibility, but it could be a shared maintenance agreement of who is ultimately responsible for it.
Secondly, then who's in charge of paying for it when the street needs to be redone?
That could be part of that agreement.
I have just one quick question of staff. On the westerly side of 8th Street, it appears that the bus drop-off and pickup is removing the sidewalk. Is that correct? It's laid over the top of the sidewalk.
That is not correct. We've clarified that with the applicant.
Thank you.
On the west side of 8th?
Yes.
Be on the east side.
East side of 8th, west side of the project, sorry.
Okay.
that all, Mr. Yeager?
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else? Looks like we don't have any more questions for staff. So moving to the next part of this item, we're going to open this up for a public hearing. If you want to speak for or against any part of this, like I said, there's a lot to it. There's the new ordinance, the general plat, and the street vacation. The house is being removed and the rectory. If you want to speak for or against any of this, I'm going to open the public hearing. It's 8:10. Please come forward. Looks like we have Father Gary.
Father Michael Gary, 416 North 9th Street. Thank you again for having us. And a special thanks to James and Jesse, who've put a lot of work into this. We enjoy being in the city of Brainerd. Been here 150 years. As you know, this is part of a overall master plan. We're aware that there are some hesitancies on the part of some council members for various reasons. And we're sensitive to those concerns. However, we see the certain things overriding those concerns. First is just the safety of our kids crossing the street, which we do more regularly. Second, as far as the use of the tearing down of the 3 houses, we're sensitive to the housing needs in the area. Just 3 days ago, we had a new priest ordained for the Diocese of Duluth. And 2 days ago, he asked me, hey, can I stay at the rectory? And I said, well, you can stay on the couch. He never stayed at the rectory. I'm assuming he found another couch. But it's just another example which happens repeatedly. We have a seminarian, 2 priests there. And so if you want to think of it this way, we own all 3 houses. If we didn't do anything, we could just use all 3 houses for the sake of the church because we need it. We've examined the possibility of remodeling or adding on or those kind of things, and the most responsible use of funds is just to rebuild a single unit for our use. Also, as noted by Jesse, we have plans for adding a high school to the neighborhood, and that simply can't happen without the vacation of the street. We believe that the public use of vacating the street is evident. One, our playground, which is, I think, used literally every night. The basketball court in particular, we plan to use those and improve on those. We want to create a beautiful space that would be available and accessible to the public. That's part of the grant that we received for the playground, that it's available for the public. And I'd also just add that as far as all the people that park on 9th Street, it's the school or the church. And so if you want to think of it this way, we are the public, and so we are using. If you're here for the church and in favor of the motion, would you just raise your hand? Just as a little evidence. Thank you again for your consideration of this project. A lot of work has gone into it. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, I might just turn it over to Erica Markison from Widseth, who's assisting us in the process as well.
Are you okay with the question, President?
Yep, go ahead.
Right now, you have a baseball diamond?
Right, yep.
Okay, and that you plan on keeping a baseball diamond?
Yeah, it's basically kickball.
Okay,
but
right.
yeah.
Okay, so then you have basketball, two
That's
hoops?
correct. Yep.
Okay, I'm just trying to think in that where's the closest baseball diamond, and where's the closest basketball hoops in Brainerd to those? I don't think there's any. Well, there's no baseball at Gregory Park or basketball hoops anywhere near there.
Basketball at Gregory.
Like Gregory there is? Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Okay. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Does anybody else have questions for Father Gary? Looks like you're free.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next up, just name and address.
Erica Markison, architect at Widseth, 7804 Industrial Park Road, Baxter. I also live in Brainerd, so 415 Cedar Street, Brainerd, Minnesota. Again, I want to thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to speak this evening. We've been in numerous meetings, and we've taken the feedback that you provided us, and we're excited tonight to present the master plan that we have up on graphic, up on the screen. I, too, want to reiterate from Widseth's standpoint give a big thanks to the staff for working with us. This is very complex, as was mentioned earlier, very complex and has many moving parts. Currently, the school has current and future needs, obviously, and I'm going to lay those out as briefly as possible. Currently, as Father mentioned, we're looking to, and when I say we're, I'm also a parishioner, so the words will be used interchangeably. We're currently looking at expanding our educational offerings to high school, through high school. And so currently, the school exists as a pre-K through 8, and we're going to be looking at expanding to pre-K through 12. To accomplish that, we need to double in size. That not only doubles in size in enrollment, but we also need to double in size in space. Both interior and exterior spaces need to be accommodating for the educational environment, which then equates to why we're here this evening, is the need for the street vacation. You'll see on the graphic that there are many site amenities, and as was just mentioned by Father, the playground, the basketball court, the ball field. Those are amenities not only for the school, but for the neighborhood. And I appreciate Councilmember Chesak's item or mentioning that the basketball and specifically the ball field, while basketball is offered at Gregory Park, the ball field is not. And that's something that we see regularly used by the neighborhood kids and the neighbors in the area. The MD, we as architects tend or lean on MDE, Minnesota Department of Education provides guidelines when we put together either renovate a new school or build a new school. And when we look at building a new school, a new K through 12 school, the suggested size of acreage that is, again, it's guidelines and suggested, is 35 to 40 acres. Well, obviously, we're in the city, and we're looking to, as a school, continue to provide that amenity and be cognizant of the neighborhood and realize the importance of that for this neighborhood. Neighborhood schools, as you are well aware, are vital to the fabric of our communities. This also, by having this neighborhood school, it's supportive of the infill and redevelopment that the city of Brainerd has as a goal. The proposed improvements would enhance the neighborhood while creating more jobs and bringing more people into that area of Brainerd, which again equals more economic development. Again, a goal of the Brainerd city. We also have, I would like to touch on a little bit about circulation. There's been some concerns expressed about with the street vacation, there would be a loss or a mislink connection to the neighborhood or within the neighborhood by vacating the street. I'd like to just kind of take a step back from these exact 2 blocks, and just south of that, there are proposed changes, as most of you are probably aware, to 210 and Washington Street coming up in that area in 2027, which would reconfigure current traffic access from 210 onto 9th Street, in turn reducing traffic entering North Brainerd at this street. So as the reconfiguration occurs, there'll be no left turn off of 210 off of 210 on 9th Street. And again, as I indicate, that would reduce traffic already existing on that street. The vacation of 9th Street adds safety. I can't reiterate enough that by vacating this portion of the street, it not only will provide traffic calming measures for the residents that are adjacent to the street, but it also, as well, and has been mentioned in the past, as well for parishioners and students, staff walking on that, walking to the church and school. The graphic shows just a broad overview on the south side of the 2 blocks. On Juniper, that's queued up for parent pickup and drop-off. On the west side, that would be an inset, and that's the bus pickup and drop-off. It's sized accordingly for, we've taken assessment of the needs of the quantity of buses that we would envision being there, and so that's queuing space enough for 4 buses. The inset, as has been already clarified, and I appreciate, again, the question on, or the clarification on, the intent is to keep that sidewalk on the west side of the block, or the west side of the school. The parking, I'd like to touch on that briefly. The parking, I know was expressed that, or indicated in previous meetings that please share with us how you propose to accommodate the lost parking. There are currently on 9th Street, about 24 parking spaces on street. I'm sorry, the existing lot adjacent to the school houses 24 spaces. 9th Street has approximately 20 spaces. That obviously is a net of 44, so that's our goal. The proposed lot, with a little bit of reconfiguration, with that block of space that we show, could have an adequacy for 36 parking spaces. The parking along on the north side on Ivy, the proposed diagonal parking, that would be about 20 spaces. So between those two, we have 56 spaces, which gives us a net gain of 12 spaces from when the existing North 9th Street was in place, or would be in place. Lastly, final and most importantly, the pedestrian circulation. We too heard from previous meetings that, and was our desire as a parish to continue that connectivity from the north side of the block on Ivy down to the south side, because we obviously will have parishioners or parents that will park on the north and on-street parking during various events and activities. And so we still want to provide that connectivity and realize the importance of that, not only for our use, but also for the neighborhood use. So with that, I guess I just would like to thank you for your time and hope that as you consider these requests, you factor in the staff and planning commission's recommendations for approval, along with the numerous letters and comments of support for this proposed master plan. And I guess if you have any questions, I'd be open to.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions? Mr. Mayor?
You talked briefly about parking. So the proposed parking lot there says 36 spaces. Currently you have 26 or so?
24.
How is that going to work?
So it would be a different configuration where we would do some diagonal parking.
Okay. And it doesn't show any other parking on here, but are there plans for future parking? Because I'm assuming you're going to need more parking.
So currently right now, the on-site parking along with the diagonal parking, and then we also have that existing parking lot that's south of the church. That is adequate for all of the staff when the school is fully enrolled. Obviously, the school won't immediately be fully enrolled, and so there'll be a time where we'll work up to that. When we get to that point of being K through 12, pre-K through 12, and have full staff, we would, the city ordinance is written as such where we would be factoring in some on-street parking, but would continue dialogue when we would come forward at that point in time of the expansion and talk more about the parking needed at that point.
So there's no plans currently looking at what the additional parking would be?
So I guess as I indicated, staff, there's adequate quantity for staff. Maybe to just help put it into perspective, the high school part, I'm assuming that maybe is what you're looking to understand better. Currently, the layout is proposing one section of 9th through 12th grade. And so 9th graders, they don't drive or aren't of age yet to drive. So you have 10, 11, 12, and if you figure 20 students per class, that would give us 60. Not everyone drives, so we are figuring right now roughly 30 stalls or 30 cars. And so, easily 30 cars could park on street in the surrounding neighborhood, as we currently do with our church and school activities already existing.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Mr. Johnson?
2 observations. I mean, you used the term traffic calming, and everybody loves to hear that, but just vacating a street and leaving Juniper the exact same as it is not calming traffic. You're actually encouraging people to drive faster because they know there's no conflict coming at Juniper Street. So we're not calming traffic, even though the term sounds good. Everybody loves to hear it. But my main point, and I'm not an architect or an engineer, so I'm just a person. I appreciate that you tried to accommodate for the pedestrian connection, but again, not an architect, but people walk straight. Right? Are you prepared for that? That people walk straight? And the sidewalk you're building over by the rectory is absolutely useless. Nobody's ever going to use it. They're going to go right over your field because people walk straight. You're prepared for that? Comfortable with that?
Well,
that's what's going to happen. I'm not.
There would be fencing, and with most ball fields, there's fencing involved. And so
I didn't see the fences in the.
Yep. So there would be, once we get into this is again a master plan. So we're not to that level of detail.
So what type of fencing and gating are you seeing in the master plan around the whole complex, or walls, or what do you?
It would be whatever the ordinance requests. The requirements of the ordinance, we would look to meet the intent of the ordinance. Currently, right now, around that ball field, as it sits on the west side or just north of the school, it has, chain link fence, which is typical of most baseball fields.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Does anybody have more questions? Yeager?
Thank you. Just a quick question about, I've heard you mention safety several different times. One of the parts of concern of mine with this master plan is by vacating the northbound and southbound road, we would then be pushing north and southbound traffic off to 8th, and then of course the one road over. So 8th Street is hypothetically going to become much busier. It occurs to me that all of the buses are going to be stacked right on 8th Street, nose to tail. Buses are tall, boxy items you can't see through. It also occurs to me that there's a pretty good chance there's going to be some pickup happening potentially on the opposite side of 8th Street. So I'm wondering if you've thought through that 8th Street, which will become much, much busier, will now have these buses stacked up. Kids darting in between buses is one of the most dangerous situations with loading zones. This just seems like an extremely dangerous situation to stack those buses right on what is now going to become a much busier 8th Street. Thoughts?
Certainly. So, we'll continue to develop this as we further, the plan. This is a master plan. If we look at the safety factor, by having that inset, it's a boulevard street. There's a boulevard up the center of that street. And so currently, I don't want to say an ordinance, but there is I don't know the appropriate term, but there's I will just use the word rule. That's not the word I'm looking for right now. But we deter from having parents picking up over in that location across the street. And so with this, we've looked at the fact that the queuing on the days where there's the longest queue line, it would allow for that to continue along the whole south end of the block. And then because of strategically placing that along the south, the queuing would then go up on to 10th Street, providing that so that you wouldn't have that crossing or that temptation to be crossing between buses. And what I was looking for, it's an operational control thing.
Understood. You're saying that kids will not be cutting across 8th Street under any circumstance?
Not where the
Well, the
boulevard
buses
is.
are stacked there.
At the crosswalk, yes, but not
Kids won't be cutting
midstream.
across the street whatsoever through the middle of the block, through the buses?
No.
Okay.
More questions, Mr. Geiger? Nope. Anyone else?
I got a question.
Mr. Chazak?
Juniper and 8th are not, it's not a four-way stop, is it? No. That's just east-west, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Kingwood is the four-way. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. All right.
Any more questions? Looks like you're free. Thank you. Next up. Welcome, sir. Just name and address first.
Yeah, hi folks. My name is Alex Nyland. I live at 501 North 9th Street. You can even see my house right here, corner of 9th and Ivy there. So I don't think the impact of vacating 9th Street is well understood. If the city were to consider moving forward with this request, I think some kind of study should be conducted to understand the impact. I can tell you a lot of traffic passes up and down that street every single day. Completely removing the street, forcing it up 8th Street, forcing it around the other way, I think it would be a nightmare. I'm no fan of the proposed development in a residential neighborhood, speaking towards the broader plan, but I'm also in favor of allowing folks to do as they wish with their property. But to that end, the road is public property, built and maintained with our tax dollars. I believe it should continue to serve the function it was developed for. As a local resident impacted by this decision, I'm asking you not to approve a vacation of 9th Street. And when I purchased my home, I certainly didn't want to purchase a home across the street from a parking lot. And if they get the street vacation and go through with this plan, I mean, I don't really like the idea of having diagonal parking lot permanently outside of my living room. So, yep.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Anyone else? Hey, Chuck.
Hey, guys. Was home working in the yard, listening to the hearing.
All right.
Was not planning to
Name
be
and address,
here.
please.
And then, sorry, Chuck
You're okay.
Marone, 616 North 4th Street.
You could hear it, though, at home?
Oh, yeah, I was listening on YouTube.
All right, we had some
And
concerns.
I think when we started talking about MDE standards, I kind of like, oh, gosh. I am obviously a resident of this community, and I feel like the first question that I have, just in a big sense, is when are we going to stop doing things to prioritize people who are driving in and then, trying to accommodate the people who live here, and instead prioritize the people who live here and accommodate, and I think graciously so, the people who are driving in. I'm very much against this proposal, and I'm a member of this parish. I'm going to spend another century in purgatory because of that, but I'm not a fan of this, and I've not been silent about that. We are taking what is an old historic neighborhood with a school and church, and we are doing to it what we did to Harrison and Garfield and Lowell. We're making them into a campus. I understand the idea. The Minnesota Department of Education standards for school, the guideline says, here's how much space you should have if you're building a brand new school. Those guidelines were developed in the 60s and 70s when they went and studied suburban schools. Way back in the day, they looked and they said, where are our highest performing schools? They're out in the suburbs. Where are our least performing schools? They're in the middle of the city. And so what they did is they said, all right, the standards for new schools should be like our best schools, not like these. And what happened is we went and tore down a ton of urban schools. Here's the thing, about 18 years ago, those guidelines were changed. Yes, there still is like the recommended standards, but there's a second path for urban schools. This is what was not talked about when we did Harrison. This is what was not talked about when we did Lowell. There's a second set of standards. And they don't say have 35 to 40 acres for a site like this. They say make it a neighborhood school, work with what you have. When we look at the street out in front of the church, between the church and the school. It's important for us to understand that the way we do public safety in a city like Brainerd is to have gridded streets. If you go to Baxter, you're going to have wide streets, sweeping cul-de-sacs, all this stuff. It's designed to get a fire truck like quickly to where you're going because it's all dead ends. In Brainerd, you've got narrow streets, tight streets, cars parking along the side. It's messiness, it's complex. The way you actually provide public safety is give that fire truck many different ways to go. I come down this street, it's not wide enough, I turn, I go. As soon as you start closing streets, whether it's here, whether it's around our other schools, whether it's at the hospital, what you do is you systematically start to devalue the public safety response. When we look at this plan, the idea that the only option we have to have a high school would not include, walking across the street to Franklin Junior High School, where there's tons of classrooms available. That's where my office is. I know there's lots of room available. Be nice to try out a school there for a few years. The idea that there aren't options to build a rectory that doesn't include tearing down 3 homes, of which we went through a long, long period of time of writing an ordinance to make sure that those kind of things would not happen. The idea that we need campus-style parking lots in the middle of the neighborhood, all of this goes against not only the spirit and intent of our comp plan, but our actual ordinance and the way we've written these regulations to happen. Last thing on the vacation, and then I'm probably going to go back to my garden and prepare for purgatory. When we do a vacation, it's not enough to say, does this harm the public, or does this street, after we vacate it, still have a public function? Can we still have an easement underneath it? Can we still access things? If that's the case, I'll come and ask you to vacate 4th Street in front of my house. You're going to charge me an assessment when you try to redo it anyway. I'd rather control it myself and slow down cars and not have, all the thing. I'll gladly give you an easement for the sewer and the water. That's not the way that the state statutes are written. That's not the burden that we have. The burden that we have is to say, this serves no public purpose. And clearly the street serves a public purpose. The unfortunate thing with how this whole thing has been done is that because the vacation is wrapped up in the preliminary plat, because the preliminary plat is wrapped up with the housing and the rezoning, it all stands or fails as one. It should not have been done that way. We should have had this discussion on the vacation. We should have had the discussion on the housing. We should have settled those issues. And then we should have spent time and energy working on a really good plan that fit within a neighborhood in the city of Brainerd. Instead, we've done it opposite, and we have this high stakes now conversation. I'm urging you to vote no on the vacation. I'm urging you to vote no on the rezoning, and that will reset the preliminary plat. And then we can come back here and have a really good conversation about how we build a neighborhood high school and a neighborhood rectory in a way that honors and respects the church and the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Come on up.
I'm John Erickson. I live at 230 Chippewa Street in Brainerd, and I have a home with my wife as well at 323 North 7th Street, which is a block away from the gymnasium door at St. Francis, in which I played as a kid. I'm here to support my colleague because my former practice of law got into land use things, so I knew Chuck way back in time. And I agree with him on everything that he said. And I want to add a few more things from my former perspective as a lawyer who dealt with planning and zoning and development and all sorts of things like you're dealing with here tonight. I think you also have the cart before the horse in many ways here. I think there's a fundamental defect in process which you can remedy by doing what Chuck said, and that's deny things that are before you tonight, each one of them. And go back to where it ought to be, which would allow for the kind of planning process that Chuck is talking about, and would more appropriately be the right process for what needs to be accomplished there. Here's my concern. We have currently this land use occurring, not what I'm looking at, but what we have on the street now, it's occurring in a traditional residential one, not two, neighborhood, which is the entire north side community. And that's the community that's been there for more than 150 years. That's what it was, has been, and is. And a matter of fact, only 3 years ago, you did a massive look at the zoning ordinances and the classifications, and you called that neighborhood that that land use is in traditional residential 1. That's what it is. What you did was very appropriate and is being bypassed massively here and not allowing the opportunity to develop some of the nuances that Chuck is talking about and that some of your questions went to, including street vacations, and several other questions I have that there's nothing before you on right now. And that is there should be a CUP, a conditional use permitting process, which is what's in the traditional residential 1 zoning ordinance that applies to that land right now. What you have before you with the change of land use classification to the PSP is to bypass all of the particularized planning that Chuck has talked about and that I support in order to get the right use of that land in what will still be the traditional residential neighborhood. What you have done, if you approve the land use classification change, is what in times past was referred to as spot zoning. You're doing it just here. And if you do it here, you've got 4 more churches, 4, on the north side, just on the north side, in that traditional residential 1 community. And you will have set the precedent for every one of those churches to look at the same approach to things as what you would have allowed here. Instead of what it ought to be within that community, the careful identification of individual land use issues and the attempt to resolve them through conditioning the use. If you pass the ordinance that's involved here, you're permitting the use. It's permitted. That's the difference between the conditional use and the permitted use. That's the ordinance change that's massive in this situation and should not occur because this requires nuance. It's not uncommon to have conditional use permits. They typically get granted, by the way. And so it's very likely that the outcome will be favorable to the Catholic community. But it will be a better outcome. And I want to add a few more words and then I'm going to sit down. If this gets approved as a PSP and you depart if you depart from the traditional residential primary use for that area and that piece of land, you will have not only set the precedent for the other 4 churches, but also for Whittier. Whittier they'll see what's happened here, and they'll be interested in expanding as a permitted use, not having to go through a conditional use permitting process. Right now, that's a conditional use up there. It's a TR zone up there, as is the case with the other 4 churches. Not only that, but look at the northeast corner. You see those 3 houses up there? They're outside the master plan boundaries. That's an obvious target. If you own those properties, you maybe would be wanting to sell. And who are you going to sell to? you're going to sell to the parish. And what is the parish going to do? I suspect that might even be where some parking might be going. But there will be an expansion. What I'm getting at is an expansion of the the PSP, which is a permitted use for public and semi-public entities. Now, this is a church operation, and I am a church-going person. I believe in the fundamental mission of the Catholic Church, though I'm not Catholic. I have represented many Catholics in my past, and I know what Catholic Charities does in this whole world. It's incredible. But this is also, in terms of a land use, this is a type of business operation. You have more people coming to that particular small area. That's all the traffic talk we have. But you have more people coming there into the TR1 zone. More people coming, more people going. You've got more, Erica, I think, said something about commercial use. Well, yeah, she was, I think, putting it in a different context, but there's a commercial activity going on. There's more employment there, and that's why the denser use, the more intensive use ought to be managed, if it can be, which I suspect it can be, by a conditional use permitting process where you come to grips with each one of the issues. I haven't heard until tonight, and only briefly, and only coming from the architect. I've read through what I can find in the public record, and I don't see anything in the public record that tells me what's the projection for numbers of students in the high school. I can see that we're doubling the footprint of educational buildings there, doubling. That means doubling teachers, doubling media people, all the support staff. What are the counts? How many people are we dealing with? Are we going to have angle parking up there? Should we really talk about that on the north side? I think it's miserable. Myself, I was angle parking tonight, and I can't see when I back out thanks to people who have bigger SUVs than mine. Angle parking is a risk, and that's on a relatively narrow street up there, Ivy. I certainly support the questions asked by Mr. Yeager about, and I will say that my eyes rolled a little bit. I don't know if anybody else's did, but buses along a major thoroughfare like 8th Street will be. It already is, and it's going to be more so because 9th would be closed off. It's dangerous where you've got buses lined up, quite apart from the kids darting in and out. Those buses are difficult to maneuver, and they're intensely traffic issues at the timing of the day, twice a day at least. We haven't heard a word about programmatic things within the school itself. For example, all right, education, or whatever that is, that's fine, but there will be other things beyond education. They're sometimes called co-curriculars nowadays, but I suspect that most of you, certainly some of you who are older, let's say, would think of them as extracurriculars. It's the athletics. It's boys' sports and girls' sports, varsity and B squad stuff. In basketball, in terms of the gymnasium there, volleyball, and perhaps other things that I can't quite imagine here, but in the gym, which I suspect serves, but we don't know it because we can't see the planning process because we haven't heard about it. We haven't had a CUP application that really tells us stuff. Orchestras, bands, choirs, those are things that go with higher grades. The 10, 9, 10, 12, 11, 12. That happens at the higher grades more so than with the kids in K to 8. We're going to have more intensive use. We're going to have more parents coming, more uncles and aunts, and they're not all just coming from the neighborhood. The intent, I'm sure, is to attract people from Catholics in particular, maybe some others who are looking for a private school education, from outside the neighborhood. Talk about a neighborhood school. Chuck, I understand where you're coming from, but this is not a neighborhood school in the sense that it was when I walked Whittier. That's the traditional sense of a neighborhood school. This is a parish-wide school, and maybe more so than that. We are bringing more people in, not just to the school, but to the extracurricular activities that will happen in the school as well. And where are they going to park? Parking is part of our life today, unfortunately. I question
Mr. Erickson, if we could
I will
try to
finish.
wrap it up.
I will finish. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I question the count of how many high schoolers are going to be driving. I suspect that's higher than any of us think. And when we expand into other activities, where are they parking in the neighborhood? They're going to be on the street more often than not. So I hope that you will deny the applications here tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Come on up. Just name and address, please.
Becca Nyland, 501 North 9th Street. So my husband had talked, and we are right on the corner of North 9th and Ivy. So we already get quite a bit of traffic just due to the school, to the church. There's pickup. It's not just the school that's using North 9th. So as previously mentioned, if North 9th Street is vacated, then that's going to increase the traffic that's going down down Ivy. I also don't think that having buses pick up on 8th is a good idea, considering that that's already a busy street. You can't see, it's a two-way stop sign, so getting out onto that road, it's going to increase the traffic there, and then cutting from Ivy down to 10th. So I, too, am in opposition of vacating 9th Street.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Cole Ware, 413 North 4th Street. I'll keep it brief. My wife and I moved here with our family about 2 years ago, and we've been absolutely thrilled to be in Brainerd. It's been awesome. Thank you for everything y'all are doing. We really love it. The thing we love the most about it is St. Francis. It's been such a joy to be a part of that community, and it's a big reason that motivated us to move to this area. I can think of a couple other families as well who've made a similar move because of the attractiveness of St. Francis, everything that's going on there, the vision that Father Michael has laid out. I think a lot of those things are attractive to people moving into the area, as well as like the established community as well. So I just wanted to kind of share that anecdote and urge you to vote for it. We'd all be thrilled. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin Denny, 14657 Grand Oaks Drive in Baxter. I'm not a St. Francis parishioner. I'm a member of St. Andrew's Catholic Church. We got our own stuff going on over there. But from watching this from afar, from across the street, obviously, St. Francis, they've been doing a heck of a job, obviously working with the city. Seems very well vetted. Obviously, really good questions today. Since not stuff that I wouldn't, anticipate this team and working with the city and where everyone wouldn't handle and address and make sure that they're being very neighborly. To the last gentleman's point, yeah, he's absolutely right. Catholics, there ain't nobody that can mobilize like Catholics, and hell yeah, we're going to bring people in here and we're going to build up the school and we're going to do all this stuff. I mean, who wouldn't want that, right? Like, this is an expanding faith, an expanding community, an expanding city, and that's just the reality of it. We can't stick back thinking this is some type of Mayberry, where nobody drives anymore. The reality is we are expanding. I would like to argue against the fact that every other church, every other school is going to be doing this, because they're not going through the type of growth that the Catholic Church, and in particular St. Francis of the Lake School is. We had a gentleman just move here from Auburn, like literally from Auburn, because he loves what's going on here. The Holy Spirit's moving. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Come on up, sir.
Hello, my name is Cody Poster on 839 Bluff Avenue, right down the edge of 9th Street there. And I'll just say, for traffic-wise, I avoid 9th Street anyway. when I come to town because there's always so much going on at the church anyways. So either I take 10th or 8th.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? If there's anybody online, press *3. Is there anyone on there, Max? No? I'll ask one more time. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Melissa Poster, and I live at 839 Bluff Avenue. It's the very top of the road there. I can see the church and the highway from my house. I was also the secretary at St. Francis for 3 years, and I used to walk to work every day. And we still walk to church every Sunday and for every church event that we have. And I am very, very involved in our church and what goes on. And I can say that I walk that neighborhood every single day. And the amount of times I've almost been hit on any given road has been hilarious. It's crazy. And especially 9th Street is the absolute worst. Crossing at any of those intersections is dangerous and horrible. And I think of all of those kids. We have hundreds of kids that cross from St. Francis to go to church to daily mass. And I am so fearful that they are going to get hit. They just will. Because someone's going to just plow through 9th Street like they do every day. And it is so terrifying to think of that. So I am fully in favor of this road closure for safety. Not for my own, but just for all the kids and all the family, and especially our parishioners. We have so many elderly parishioners that are crossing those roads. We need to really think about safety and safety of what they're doing and how we're operating. And this is a parish that grows daily. As someone who used to do the records and to welcome new families to our community, we have people from out of state coming. We have people from the cities who are just amazed at St. Francis. And they believe in St. Francis so much that they will move their whole entire families here. And it's the most beautiful and amazing thing that you will ever see. So I fully support this. I fully support the mission of the Catholic Church and of St. Francis. And this is an awesome plan. So yeah, go St. Francis. Thank you guys so much. It was fun to be here.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Andrew Schindler. I'm at 302 Bluff Avenue. I also just wanted to voice my support for the project. I won't get too into things, but I too am a transplant who came up just about a year ago with my wife and 2 children under 2. St. Francis has been just an incredibly welcoming community. I remember, it's something that really attracted us to the area. We do have some family here, and then we'd come up to the lake, as many people do throughout the summer. And so we would, on Sundays, we go to Mass at St. Francis, and Father Michael was always super accommodating. Father Matt, I remember specifically, I had been coming throughout the summer, and, he approached me after Mass and said, "Hey, Shin," like my nickname that my in-laws, it just felt like such a familiar home and community. And as my wife and I were thinking of where we wanted to raise our children, we lived in St. Paul forever. It was just such an attractive place. So we love to see the perspective of growth, like as, someone who's attended Catholic high school, we take, a lot of stake in where we want to send our kids to school, and we just don't have as many options up here. So the prospect of that being an option for our kids, way down the road is very beautiful. And I just also wanted to really briefly encourage, I know there's a lot that goes into this, and when you look at a plan like this, we're asking a lot of, questions that are like very warranted. Like it's the job of the council to represent the constituents, to dig into these things. But I mean, I've worked in education in my previous roles, both Catholic and non-Catholic, and it's really hard to predict everything that's going to happen, enrollment, numbers, that kind of thing. Like we can talk about our caps of one section and whatnot, but just, trying to have a nitty-gritty number of however many people we think in however many years is going to be enrolled is just kind of, it's just something I see the amount of work that the parish has put into this, and as of course a nonprofit entity, it's you have limited resources, and they're really trying to do something good and beautiful here, and I think if you take just to step back from some of the nitty-gritty, which is important, and just look at what are we overall trying to accomplish here. Yes, in some ways it's a business, but it's not a very lucrative one. I mean, it's, there's a lot that goes into it, and really, St. Francis is supposed to be there for the community members, and as it continues to grow, I just voice my support for this because I think we're moving towards something good, true, and beautiful versus something that's a big, scary project that is going to completely ruin a neighborhood. So, thank you.
Thank you. Come on up.
Hi, Luke O'Reilly, 1223 Rosewood Street, Brainerd. I've been Catholic my whole life. My family is not St. Francis parishioners, but I've gone to a lot of Catholic churches throughout Minnesota and even New York, all over the place. And St. Francis has shown by far the most growth of any of the churches that I've seen. And from my perspective, the growth at St. Francis will happen. And so a lot of people were raising issues of fearing about the parking and drawing more people. The growth is going to happen. More people are going to come to that area regardless of whether this project is permitted. And I'm just thinking that this project allows us to start thinking about these things that are happening, that will happen. More people are going to start parking there. So we need to start accommodating to that the best we can, because from my perspective, I think it's inevitable that growth will happen at that church. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Another.
All right. Hello, my name is Sam Gilsrud. I am a resident of Brainerd, live at 905 Bluff Avenue. We are parishioners at St. Francis, and our kids attend school there. Unsurprisingly, I fully support this project, and I think it's a clear net win for the community. I think a strong faith community is paramount to a flourishing North Brainerd. As proof of that, the master plan my wife and I had was to start in our small home in North Brainerd, and once we outgrew it, moved north to Nisswa to be closer to the in-laws. And as we've grown in our faith and under the guidance of Father Michael, and our children have flourished under the guidance of Mrs. Nagel at the school, we fully intend to stay in North Brainerd and look for a larger home and stay here. It's literally the reason that we are staying here. I know that a lot of the other small families, there's a lot of other small families and growing families in the area, like Cole and Andrew and Melissa and Cody, who have already spoken. I do want to just call out too, I've heard points mentioned when talking against this, speaking that we need to do what's best for the community. And I think that everybody that has gotten up here speaking for it, there's clear indication there's a lot of families, growing families in the community that are also parishioners at St. Francis and very much support this master plan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Still nobody online, Max? All right, we'll ask one more time. If there's anybody that wants to come up, please do so now. With that, we will close the public hearing. It is 9:03. Okay, so next, we have quite a few steps to get through this one. Step 2 would be to conduct the final reading of the proposed ordinance 1584 and dispense with the actual reading.
So moved, Johnson.
Second.
Note that a vote to dispense with the actual reading of the ordinance must be unanimous. So we have a motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Any discussion? No discussion? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against, same sign. That motion passes. Next, we're moving on to the staff recommendation of the adoption of the attached resolution. I haven't talked in a while. I've got to stretch my mouth muscles out a little bit. The attached resolution in which vacates the segment of North 9th Street while reserving utility easements.
So moved, Johnson.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Do we have any discussion on this? Really? Okay, this is a resolution. Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I'm going to speak against it. Just, I'm going to be consistent. I have fought against vacating streets every single time that they've come up. And I hate to do it because I love the project and I love what you guys are doing, but there are members that came up and spoke that I think very strongly of. Chuck Marone is one of them. And I'm going to push back a little bit on this idea that our streets are unsafe. Specifically this street. I live on this street. I live a block away from this. I live right on 9th Street. 9th Street is safe. North Brainerd streets are safe. We put in sidewalks. We've put in calming measures. We try to take care of our streets. Every time that I hear someone come up and speak about the safety of our streets, I get a little angry because these are the streets we have. These are the streets that we take care of on a daily basis, and these are the streets that Brainerd is built on. And the grid system is a safe street, or a safe system. I do have very, very big concerns about what happens if we vacate this street and push traffic to 8th, push traffic to 10th. Concerns about there being a hill right at the end of 10th at Ivy. It just, to me, puts us in a position where we are doing the things that I have consistently spoke against. And so although I support the project, and although I support what you guys want to do, I'm going to be consistent for myself, and I'm going to continue to say that this is exactly why I don't believe in vacating streets.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anyone else? Mr. Yeager?
Thank you, Mr. O'Day. I will be exhibiting the same consistency. I've spoken against this project, not because of the merits or the virtues of the Catholic Church in St. Francis. I've been very clear all along that I fully support the church, I fully support the growth, I fully support the expansion, I fully support everything that your entity does for this community, and appreciate that you exist here. It's fantastic. Euclidean design says churches belong in neighborhoods. I fully acknowledge that and believe that to my core, that is the case. Euclidean zoning also says we have to be very, very careful with spot zoning. Spot zoning is a high-risk enterprise. In the short term, small impact. Spot zoning over decades dismantles a city from within. If you spot zone a city for long enough, you end up with residences 20 feet away from industrial use. You end up with homes in commercial zones. You end up with commercial uses trying to be in residential zones. That's exactly what we have here. This is the exact guiding enterprise of why Euclidean zoning exists. It's because commercial uses over time have a tendency to grow. If they grow in a responsible fashion, that's one thing. When they grow by gobbling up the surrounding zone, that's a completely different story. Whenever I'm looking at a zoning change that comes in front of me, whether as I'm a petitioner, which I do from time to time, or sitting here looking at a zoning, I ask myself one quick question to help me get the temperature of whether or not the zoning is a good choice. Who does it benefit? At the Planning Commission meeting, St. Francis Church was asked the exact same question, and the response was, we're asking for the zoning because it's a good fit for us. I don't disagree with you. It is absolutely 100% a good fit for you to change this zoning. It allows you to get around the demolition of the houses. It allows you to perform in the future without conditions. No questions, it's a good fit for you. I'm struggling with how it's a good fit for the remainder of North Brainerd. That's what I cannot wrap my head around, how this zoning helps them. So I'm against the zoning. I'll be voting against this. I have a lot of other concerns about this project, but I'm just going to summarize one other thing, and that is that the mayor some time ago placed me on the Housing Redevelopment Authority. It's a group of humble people who fight tooth and nail every single day to build one house in the city with incredible resistance. There's no way I can sit on this dais in two weeks from now and look those people in the face when I have signed on to tear down 3 houses in this city like that. I won't do it. I will be consistent. Any project that comes in front of me that involves the net loss of houses, whether you're a church, a hospital, a YMCA, does not matter. I will vote against you. Period. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I feel like I'll address that. I am not being consistent because I'm generally against street vacations. I did change my mind on this one. Initially, I was apprehensive. I am supporting it now, and basically, generally, because we gave the public schools in the neighborhoods the same accommodation. And there's no reason we should say, sorry, private schools, you can't have that too. I see you're growing, but sorry, we're not going to allow that, even though we allow other schools to do that. So I think if this is how they see, they want to grow their school, we did it for other schools, we should also allow it for St. Francis School.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Erickson.
I'm going to support the motion. I know for a fact the entirety of the north side neighborhood is not zoned T1. I know we have some T2, TN2 mixed in there as well. In fact, I did a little digging. It's actually on our website. You can look back on the original plat for the city. This block was originally set aside for educational use. When our townships were established, all 36 sections of every township was always set aside for educational use. And of course, that's a township, the city, but again, went back and looked at the original plat, whatever the year was, in the 1800s. This block was set aside for educational use. And so, I understand there's a lot of development pressure in this neighborhood, particularly the residential homes. But given that the original intent was for education, you could argue that the homes have encroached on that purpose, on that original purpose. And then when we talk about safety, whether you think it's unsafe or you think it is safe, I'm going to say, we've done Safe Routes to School plans for, I'm going to say all the other schools in the community. And so we just don't know, because I don't believe we've done a Safe Routes to School plan for this school. So regarding safety, and they are low-volume roads, all in those neighborhoods, and there are many alternatives, many alternative routes. So we've done Safe Routes to School plans for the other elementary schools, including the high school. We haven't done one for this school. So in terms of safety, on both sides of that issue, we just don't know, because we haven't looked at it. This is good for the community. I heard, suppositions that this would bring people to the community, have economic development, bring some cultural enrichment. God forbid we bring an orchestra to North Brainerd. So I think this is good for the community, and I'm going to support it.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Stunek, you're looking at me like you have something to say.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Anyone else? This stuff, go ahead, Mr. Chezak.
I get a little, and I guess I'm not picking on you, Mr. Yeager, but this reluctance to take a house or two from a neighborhood, I was speaking out like the Dickens against what the school district was doing in 2018. I came to you guys about a street vacation over by Riverside. I pointed out how it seemed like the school district was acting in secret about keeping things on the down low. Anybody remember that? And that was on a recording, if you all recall. And the whole purpose of that was to vacate a street over by Riverside. So that was done. The houses, Harrison, Lowell. I'm not sure if Riverside had, I think they did. 17 in total, if I'm not mistaken. And we're looking at, where's the property tax revenue from those homes going? Nowhere, none. It goes bye-bye. So, and I understand, HRA, the concern about housing in Brainerd is at a premium. And as it was stated, they could use those homes. They're not going to be essentially for public use. They're going to be for essentially the church's use. So what have we accomplished? I just don't see the sky falling because a couple of homes are taken out of circulation for the use by people to live there, because we have now a larger rectory in use, which, You want to talk use, there it is. So I will be supporting this. I like what Mr. Erickson said about the benefit, and that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Anybody else? This is not an easy thing to do here. It's not as easy as it might be or might seem to everybody that's sitting out here, but we're trying to keep as many people happy as possible throughout the entire city. And it's not, it's completely impossible is what it is. But you have to weigh the good with the bad. I've lived on this street. I've lived in the mayor's house. Not when he lived there.
You left some stuff behind.
I probably did. I actually lived at 905 Bluff Avenue when I was a kid as well. I know this neighborhood very well, and I understand the concerns that have been brought up. 100%, I do. I don't like to see change in the neighborhood I grew up in all that much either. I don't like knocking down houses. But those things, they do tend to happen over time, and we have to allow certain businesses and organizations to grow within our city. So I see the need. What I'm most frustrated with about this one is the process. I think that was brought up by Mr. Erickson. I don't like the process that we went through with this one either. I really don't. So if this doesn't pass, I want everyone from St. Francis to know that there's still a path forward. If it does pass, hopefully all the concerns that have been brought up here tonight have been listened to, and as we move forward in this project, they're taken care of. I have faith in that this is a group that can take care of those. I generally lean towards supporting in this instance. I hope it doesn't become a trend, especially in this neighborhood or any of our other grid neighborhoods. I don't think we should continue to vacate blocks of streets, but when it does make sense in one area, if it makes sense, it makes sense. We take those on a case-by-case basis. A month ago, 2 months ago, I would have said no. I think I did say no. Now today I see where this plan is coming together, and I am leaning towards supporting it. That's where I'm at. Mr. Mayor, do you have some comments?
I have more of a question. So, Jesse, you had said that the diagonal parking and stuff would have to be a part of the agreement. So when does that go into place? Because if we approve this, is that just all taken care of as shown or whatever? Because none of that stuff is in here.
So the approval with staff's recommendation would be contingent upon an executed development agreement, and we'd be working with our city attorney on that. And whether it be a final approval at the next meeting or kind of a draft review, I guess would be yet to be seen, but it would be discussed at the next meeting.
So that stuff comes back to the council.
Just to be clear, the master plan is not binding in any way, correct?
It is not.
So another question, if I could.
Mr. Chesak.
So the development agreement will be coming back, and that's where we can place our requirements of maintenance of that, say the diagonal parking and such, that type of thing, right?
That's correct, and certainly the comments from council tonight would be potentially helpful in creating that.
Potentially what?
If approved, would be potentially helpful in creating that development agreement. The comments made by council tonight.
Okay.
Anyone else? Tony?
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yep.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Nope.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes. And that passes. Next, we're moving on to number 4, it looks like. This is a recommendation of approval of the preliminary and final plat contingent upon the following conditions. One is approval of the vacation of North 9th Street between Ivy Street and Juniper Street. 2 is approval of the ordinance 1584. 3 is the executed development agreement between St. Francis and City of Brainerd. Number 4 is approval of the CUP to create a parcel under 1 acre in the PSP district.
Move approval. Second, Johnson.
Motion by Johnson, or
Chesak.
second by Johnson. Johnson?
I support the motion. I think last motion was only about a vacation, but we all pretty much covered everything we had to say about everything here, so the next 4 should just fly right by, right, Mr.
We'll see.
Chair?
We'll see.
All right, I hope they do.
Well, you just made it not happen that way.
No,
Mr. Chazak, did you have something?
Not after that.
Okay, perfect. All right. I believe this is a voice vote, so if there's no more discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Against? Same
Yes.
sign. 1 against. That motion passes. Moving on, number 5, we have recommended approval of the proposed ordinance 1584, an ordinance amending the zoning map and zoning code contingent upon the following conditions. 1 is the approval of the preliminary and final plat. 2 is the approval of the CUP request to create a parcel less than 1 acre in the PSP district.
So move, Johnson.
Second.
Motion Johnson, second Erickson. More discussion? No discussion? Tony?
Chezak,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yep.
Stunek.
Yes.
Yeager.
No.
Erickson.
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes, that one passes. Finally, we have number 6. This is a recommended approval of the CUP requests is to construct a rectory on its own parcel under 1 acre in the PSP district for residential use in the PSP district contingent upon the following conditions: approval of the preliminary and final plat.
Move approval, Johnson.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Chezak. No discussion? Tony?
Chezak.
Yes.
Johnson. Stunek.
Yes.
Yeager.
Nope.
Erickson.
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes. Those are all approved. That brings us to the end of that item. If you're here for just that item, if you want to stick around and watch the rest of the show, that's fine too. But if not, I'll give you a couple minutes to clear the room.
Thank you.
At 2, Paul?
You waited.
At 2?
You waited too long. Or I don't know if you ever said it.
Should I stick around
Does anybody have any new testimony? Any new information to present to the council?
What was going on? I was kicking in the shin.
I was enjoying it.
Yeah, it was nice.
No, it could have gone a little longer.
Yeah, right.
Kelly Bevins, you haven't said one word tonight. What's going
No,
on?
I don't. I'm on a schedule.
I should be a step son.
Probably will.
If we started these at 6 like I've been pushing, we'd be done by now. And you'd have been there.
Or just had them at Shep's.
All right, point of order. Let's go 8D. We have a final reading, proposed ordinance 1585, auto dealerships, outdoor service, sale and rental, and definition of abutting. You guys ready? Okay, I'm not gonna repeat it, so we'll just let this go to James Kramvik.
Thank you, Mr. President. So at the April 7th City Council meeting, the council directed the Planning Commission to consider an ordinance to remove screening requirements from outdoor sales areas. The Planning Commission directed staff to amend some additional language as well and unanimously recommended approval of the ordinance. Screening would still be required for residential and collector streets, but not for arterial streets or highways. So with that, staff recommends to conduct the final reading of proposed ordinance 1585 and dispense with the actual reading, and to approve proposed ordinance 1585. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Does anybody have questions regarding this one for Mr. Kramvik? No? All right, then we're looking for a motion to conduct the final reading of proposed ordinance 1585 and dispense with the actual reading.
So move, Erickson.
Second.
Motion Erickson, second Stunek.
Go Stunek.
Any discussion?
Get your name in the minute.
Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Against, same sign. Motion passes. Next, we're looking for approval of the proposed ordinance 1585.
So move, Erickson.
Motion Erickson,
Second.
second Chezak. Any discussion? Seeing none. Tony?
Chezak.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yep.
Stunek.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes. That ordinance is passed. Next, we're moving on to the final reading of proposed ordinance 1587, off-street parking surfaces. James Kramvik.
Thank you, Mr. President. Currently, all new multifamily and non-residential driveways and parking areas must consist of concrete, asphalt, or pavers. Proposed ordinance 1587 would allow for unimproved surfaces such as Class 5 in the general industrial district in the rear yard, and also park zone properties. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and unanimously recommended approval of the ordinance. So with that, staff recommends to conduct the final reading of proposed ordinance 1587 and dispense with the actual reading, and approve proposed ordinance 1587. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you, James. Anybody have questions? Seeing none, we're looking for a motion to conduct the final reading of proposed ordinance 1587 and dispense with the actual reading.
So moved, Bevins.
Second.
Motion Bevins, second Erickson. Discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Against, same sign. That motion passes. Next, we're looking for a motion to approve proposed ordinance 1587.
So moved, Bevins.
Second.
Motion Bevins, second Chesak. Any discussion? Tony?
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yeah.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that ordinance is passed. Moving on to number 9, this is new business. 9A, we have a resolution to approve plans, specifications, and authorize advertisements for improvement 2314 Hawkins Ronald Joseph resurfacing project. I believe this is Public Works Director Mike Habegorst.
Thank you, Mr. President. Attached to this request is a resolution that approves the plans and specifications and authorized advertisement for bids for the improvement 2314 Hawkins Ronald Joseph resurfacing project. And this project includes the following streets: Hawkins, Joseph, Ronald, alley between 6th and 7th Street, and Paul Street to Joseph Street. The project also includes replacement of fire hydrants on Hawkins Drive, replacement of water main and water services under Joseph Street, and from the alley from Paul to Joseph Street. Attached to this item is also the engineer's estimate and cover sheet for the plans. The current estimate, including engineering costs and contingency, is a total of $1,042,500. This is the 4th time that you've seen this project, and now we are ready to go to bid, and staff is recommending adopting this attached resolution, approving the plans and specifications, and ordering advertisement and bids for this improvement.
Thank you, Mr. Habegorst. Anybody have questions for staff? No questions for staff. We're looking for a motion to adopt the attached resolution approving plans and specifications and ordering advertisement for bids for improvement 2314.
So move, Erickson.
Motion Erickson. Bevins. Second Bevins. Any more discussion? Tony?
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yeah.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that resolution passes. 9B, we have another resolution to award a bid for improvement 2113 Beach Oak Ridge reconstruction. Mr. Habegorst.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. President, we opened the bids on Thursday, June 5th, and the projects was under bid, and this is the last and the 5th and the last time that you'll see this. We're going to be we're recommending adopting this adapt resolution, which accepts the bids and awards the contract to Landwehr Construction in the total contract amount for $2,097,513.32, and authorize proper signatures on the agreement documents.
Thank you, Mr. Habegorst. Anybody have questions for staff? It's always good to see a bid come in 14% under, especially one that's this big of a project. So this is great. Do we have a motion to
So move, Johnson.
adopt the attached resolution?
Second, Bevins.
All right. Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Any discussion?
Guys.
Being none. Tony?
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yeah.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes. That resolution passes. 9C, we have a consideration of a letter of intent for River Birch Investments on TC Drive. James Kramvik, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. The city and EDA received a formal letter of intent from River Birch Investments, which is partnered with Central Minnesota Dermatology, an existing local dermatology business. They are interested in the $1 per acre incentive program, which would allow them to build and develop a new dermatology clinic on lots 1, 2, and potentially lot 3 in the future. In the industrial park, the EDA considered this request at their June 5th meeting and were in favor of the proposed project. Discussion did occur at the meeting regarding the inclusion of Lot 3 in the purchase agreement, as this lot would remain undeveloped until another building is feasible, so they're looking at a potential another building for those lots. The EDA discussed options on a remedy for the PDA, but did not make a formal motion for what that language would look like. The EDA did motion and approve staff to begin negotiations on a purchase and development agreement. We'd certainly include some of that language that was discussed. In addition, the EDA motioned and approved that they are in support of the zoning change to allow office business clinics in the general industrial zoning district. Currently not allowed in that district. This will be reviewed at this week's Planning Commission meeting, and they will be holding a public hearing. So with that, staff recommends the City Council direct staff and the EDA to begin negotiations with River Birch Investments on a purchase and development agreement for the proposed lots.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Mr. Johnson, go ahead.
Thank you. Just one question. Where is Central Minnesota Dermatology currently located?
It's on South 6th Street. I don't have the exact address.
You know what its neighbors are?
I do not. I believe it may be near the Warming Shelter.
Okay. Thank you.
It's in that little strip.
Mr. Chesak?
Kind of by the imaging for Central.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe there was a discussion at EDA about the lot, you call it lot number 3? Is that what it's referred to? The one they're not developing, but they'd like to get for $1? And there was something mentioned about perhaps in 10 years, if that isn't developed, that then go back to a full purchase price if they do want it in the future. Is that what I read? Something to that effect?
Yeah, potentially that language looks like either it would be full purchase price at the time of this agreement, or certainly could be still worked out what that purchase price would look like. And then the other option would be to give it back to the city.
Okay. So as far as, and so this is entirely an EDA decision then, however this development agreement is created, right?
So thought process, they would like some feedback, obviously, from the EDA and City Council on this to move forward. When you are looking at an incentive program like this, there's a $10,000 down payment. That would be we'd be able to then initiate our consultants on the purchase and development agreement. I kind of envision this getting a draft in front of council, and then at that point, council would have to convey these properties to the EDA. So there'd still be some review by council on it, but once it is conveyed, then it is an EDA decision.
Okay, so specific to lot number 3 then, if the EDA agreed, they said, okay, we'll accept your $10,000, it's yours to develop however you wish unless we put a time limit on that, and that's where it could either get turned back to the city or purchased or whatever. And that's how I understand that discussion went, or perhaps might be agreed upon in a purchase development agreement. And my only thing was I thought that those all seem to be a fair, reasonable expectation or agreement point, but if we're going to allow them 10 years, I don't, was that number just arbitrary? Was there some specific reason for that 10-year? Because I think it should be a shorter time frame.
So I did talk with our realtor on that one. Actually going through this process, you're going through the purchase and development agreement. They are hoping to potentially break ground this fall if they get all the approvals. And you're looking at construction timelines for that, and then also kind of getting everything fully staffed and operational in the first building. So you could be looking at 2 to 3 years on that. So to put, say a 5-year window right away into that for the next building might be a little premature, but maybe somewhere in that 8 to 10 range would be applicable. Certainly what that final number looks like hasn't been ironed out by the EDA in that purchase and development agreement. But certainly the comments from council can be considered tonight.
Okay, that's, I would just like to see it less than 10, somewhere like you maybe mentioned around that 8-year mark, but that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager.
Well, I was just going to mention a little bit on the time frame. So what Mr. Kramvik mentioned was the ramp-up time at the beginning, but there's also a ramp-up time at the end to meet the performance of construction. So when the EDA spoke about it, Mr. Chezak, we were actually calculating kind of 2 years in the front, 2 years in the back. It actually only gives them about a 6-year window of performance in the middle to act upon it. So that was kind of the mindset.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I just want to speak briefly about the idea of having non-industrial uses in industrial. I'm fine with it. However, just remember, you're in industrial park. And I don't know if we remember or not, but industrial parks are noisy. So I just want to make sure that people that are going to use this are going to remember that industrial parks are noisy. So when that happens, and your neighbor's noisy, I support your neighbor being noisy in industrial. I just want to be on the record for that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Always a pleasure. Anyone else?
Public record. You should know them well when you sleep with them.
That did not happen.
Hey, for the record.
All right.
Wow.
You guys brought it up.
They live together.
Share the house.
Do you know where you're at right now, Mr. Stunek? Yeah? Okay, good. All right. So we are looking just for general direction to motion for staff to start these negotiations, and then that will eventually come back
So moved.
for that.
Second,
land.
Bevins.
Okay. For all 3 lots, we're talking.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, any more discussion on that? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. All right. Moving on to staff reports. Start with Tony. Nothing? Chief Davis?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'm sure you're well aware that on Saturday we had quite a significantly large political demonstration along Washington Street. I'm confident the participant numbers exceeded 1,000. There are some reports of upwards of 2,000 individuals. Prior to the event, we had communicated with the local organizers, had the ability to share some of our concerns that go along with such a large event along such a busy roadway, and they really worked well with us to help kind of monitor and alleviate some of those concerns. And the event went real well, despite just a few minor incidents. All in all, it was a very safe and, I'd like to say, peaceful demonstration. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Did they call you the king?
No.
No kings.
Thank you, Chief, for your work on that. Obviously, those can get out of control very quickly for almost little to no reason. So good work there by our police staff and by everybody that participated. So thank you. Let's go move on to CLC's Max Hennon. Would you like to add anything tonight? All right, I'm going to give you the opportunity pretty much every time if you think of something. Connie Hellman?
Nothing to add.
All right, Mike Habegorst?
Nothing to add, thank you.
James Kramvik?
Just a couple items here. So I was able to attend the groundbreaking ceremony for Country Manor last week. Excited to announce that the project is underway, which is the 106-unit senior living facility with the attached child care center to that building. Also, a few updates from the last EDA meeting. The EDA preliminarily approved a contribution of $30,000 towards the Washington Street mitigation budget to help businesses, but will need final review proposed by the Chamber and Bladek. And also the EDA board directed staff to create a policy that would potentially waive $450,000 in valuation costs towards building permits for commercial child care centers and licensed in-home daycares after touring local child care centers in our community. Staff will create a policy for review at the September meeting, and any recommendation from the EDA will need city council approval. And that's everything.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Joe Langle?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Chris Schubert? Jesse Dean?
I will defer my time to Mr. Eric Charpentier.
Good, because I probably would have forgot. Eric Charpentier?
Thank you, Jesse, and nothing to add.
Oh. Nick Broyles?
No, sir.
Nothing to add?
No,
All
sir.
right. Council reports. Mr. Stunek?
Well, no, I got nothing yet.
Okay.
Forgot the mayor.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, do you want to say something?
Yeah, it's right there in mayor's reports. It's number 11.
Oh, I wasn't looking.
Listen, folks, we have 3 truths tonight. Truth number one, our streets are safe. Truth number two, industrial zones are noisy. Truth number three, the Brainerd Lions are pretty flippin' sweet. End of report.
Thank you for keeping it short. Chezak?
No, nothing.
Mr. Bevins?
Just to pile on to Mr. Kramvik, as much as we spent on the St. Francis project this evening, as excited as we are for that, the Country Manor project also is underway. So I want to make sure that you all realize how big that is in Ward 2. Thank you. Out on Beaver Dam.
Thank you.
Should be done in a week, right, James?
Yeager?
Thank you. Country Manor, great food, by the way. Excellent food out there. So I just wanted to say that and welcome those guys, and super excited to finally be underway there. Real quick, airport update. Last week, we welcomed in our interim director. His name is Neil Planzer. He's an unbelievable human being. We're super, super duper lucky and excited to have him. He'll be guiding us through what I'm sure will be a very busy time as we begin to prepare the search for our long-term director, as he is interim only. But amazing human being. If you happen to run into him out at the airport, shake his hand. He's a very, very nice fellow, and his wife escorted him out here. She's a very nice lady also, so we're excited to have him. So future's bright out there.
Excellent.
What does he look like?
He's tall.
You wouldn't recognize him. Chairman Johnson?
Just one thing, since we're not meeting till July 7th, I would like to invite everybody to the 4th of July Capital of the World celebration, an American celebration happening in Brainerd on the 4th of July, as well as the always wonderful Arts in the Park taking place at Gregory Park.
Somebody said it was June 29th.
June 29th,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what I hear.
I invite everybody to join me at those great community festivals.
Is that all?
That's it.
Okay. Chairman Erickson?
2 upcoming committee assignments, Planning Commission this Wednesday, 6 PM. Looking forward to the meeting, and then Region 5 the following Thursday, the 26th. Happy 4th, everyone.
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate the same things about Country Manor. Also St. Francis, whether it may be controversial or not, that's development in 2 different areas, and we have another one that was just proposed to us at the EDA and here at the council tonight for the industrial park. Let's keep the momentum moving forward, and more good things to come. With that, just looking for a motion to adjourn. We have one motion by Stunek.
Second.
Finally spoke. Second by Erickson. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
We're not getting sued. We don't have properties to.
Nicely done.
See you, gang. Good job.